alternative? Quit? Surrender? No, we do not quit. We never surrender. If I'm going 1v1 with LeBron James, Jordan, Tyson, Ali, a lion, or King Kong himself, anyone, it doesn't matter who it is or how great they are, I will back myself. Not because I'm arrogant, not because I am stupid, because if there is a chance, it is possible. And if it is possible, I have to fight for that possibility. Even if the odds are 1 in a billion or 1 in 100 trillion, I do not care. Anything can happen when you're willing to die for that cause. This talk is not about going 1v1 with the greats of sport. This is about believing in yourself. When the world convinced you you have no right to believe. When your conditioning or your family or society convinced you to stay in your safe little box. You're not good enough to do that. It's too risky. It can't be done. No one in the family has done that before. Take the safe path. No! I will fight for my greatest life. I will fight for my true potential. If they think it is impossible, I'll back myself. If it hasn't been done, I'll back myself. If it can't be done, I'll back myself. I'll back myself. Do you understand? I always back myself. Don't even consider it a possibility. I will back down from a challenge. I won't quit. I won't surrender. I will always back myself. You have to have the courage to fight for what you really want in life. If you don't, you'll only guarantee living in regret. I don't want that to be my life. I'd rather die trying. Believe in yourself. Words matter. Your words, mixed with your beliefs, blend to become your reality. What you speak over your life is what your life will become. If you're always talking about how you're stuck where you are, how you can't find a way out of the situation you're in, how you never get any luck, how you'll never be wealthy, well, you're right. You'll never have those things if that's what you say and that's what you believe. Instead of saying, I don't know how to do it, say, I am committed to learn how to do it. Instead of saying, I always procrastinate and never get anything done, say, I am going to find something that matters to me more than anything, and then I am going to get the job done. Instead of saying, I'm a failure, say, I failed. I've learned the lesson, and when I become a huge success, that failure is going to make for one hell of a story. Instead of saying, my best days are behind me, say, my best is yet to come. Instead of believing others are born lucky or with special gifts, know that you are capable of anything. Know that you can study and commit to learning from great people. Know that you can become a great person in your own right. Every day, look yourself in the mirror and say, I am a great person. I am a kind person. I am strong. I am capable of anything. I am growing more each day. I am committed. I am determined. I have no limits. I can have the health and the body of my choice. I will have the health and the body of my choice. I can have the wealth of my choice. I will have the wealth of my choice. I do deserve abundance. I am worthy. I am more than worthy. I can make a huge difference in others' lives. I will make that difference. Gandhi once said, your beliefs become your thoughts. Your thoughts become your words. Your words become your actions. Your actions become your habits. Your habits become your values. Your values become your destiny. When you start blending your beliefs and your words
Whatever you believe, you can conceive. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good afternoon, good day, wherever you're following this call from, and welcome to this brand new Back to the Basics IM Mastery Academy Forex Bootcamp with the one and only yours truly, Nick Engels, Forex educator for about 2 years. Really excited to do this session. This Forex Bootcamp is going to be the most in-depth and practical guide you have ever seen on this entire platform. A lot of preparation went into this, so make sure that everyone that needs to be on here is on here so they can use this information to the fullest. And without further ado, let's get into it. Alright. Welcome to this brand new Back to the Basics Forex Bootcamp. You're gonna learn all the basic skills necessary to become a successful trader within the Forex market or within the financial markets. Anyhow, no matter if it's actually even maybe another kind of asset you're trading, indices, commodities. I'm gonna give you a basic foundation, because education is the foundation. You're gonna be learning here the history of Forex and money, basic concepts of the Forex and the financial markets, brand new from step down in-depth trading view tutorial, MetaTrader 4 tutorial on how to use that. I'm gonna show you practically in person the steps. I'm gonna be teaching you how to do technical top-down analysis, fundamental analysis, sentimental analysis. We're gonna dive really deep into the risk management. How should we have a proper risk management? Which documents should we use to actually be a professional trader and not just a hobby trader, to actually make our progress that much smoother and make us reach our results that much better. We're gonna have an in-depth tutorial on how we can create a fully automated trade log and journal through MyFX book, linking our trading accounts so we can have a nice progression chart and immediately get some data which is impossible to see with the naked eye. We're going to be talking trading mindset and so much more. So again, guys and girls, if you are, anyone interested, if you are a part of a team, if you know any person that is trading Forex, TBX, whatever it is or maybe, they should be on here. All right, make sure everyone is on here so they can use the information to the fullest. This will be fully recorded and findable within the favorite sessions. Quick legal disclaimer before we dive in, and this is super funny because every single day I say this legal disclaimer before I do my live market analysis, go live sessions, and I say a couple of very important things. I say the following. First and foremost, you gotta know how to do entry point management, TP management, and stop loss management. So watch the 100 and 200 series on IM Center to understand the basic concepts of the Forex market. I say that every day. Guess what? Today we're going to start with that basics. We're going to dive in and we're going to cover those basic concepts of the Forex market. That is the topic of today. All right. Besides this, always respect risk management, right? That's also a topic we're going to be talking about in this bootcamp. I also say on the bootcamp, on the disclaimer always, past results do not guarantee future results. Another topic that we're going to be covering during this bootcamp. And obviously really important with this whole bootcamp, know that I am an IM Mastery Academy Go Live educator. That means that everything I say and do is pure meant for educational purposes. This whole bootcamp is pure meant for educational purposes, and any action you take upon that is upon your own responsibility. I'm beyond excited. Drop me Forex Bootcamp in the chat box if you guys and girls are excited for this brand new bootcamp. Drop me bootcamp in the chat box. And let's get it. Good morning. I'm Familia, my squad, my Blue Nation, my boys, my girls, my ladies, my gentlemen from all over the world. Drop me in that chat where you are following today's Forex Bootcamp from. I put a decent amount of work a lot of work actually into this Forex Bootcamp. A lot of you guys were asking about this. A lot of you have been asking over the past months, hey Nick, how do I do this on MetaTrader 4? How do I go for multiple TPs? Hey Nick, how do I use this future on TradingView? How does this work? Hey Nick, how do I actually do a top-down analysis? Hey Nick, what about this fundamentals? Hey Nick, I don't understand this basic actually explanation about the Forex. Hey Nick, what about lot sizes? How does that actually work? And all of these kind of questions. And I decided to put them all together and make a brand new, innovate my Forex Bootcamp, because I had an old one, which was already like 2 years old, to innovate it, to bring it fresh new, and to do it better than it has ever been done before on this platform, all right? It will be very practically oriented, and it will be a bootcamp where if you watch it, you are ready to become a successful trader within the financial markets no matter what. So after this bootcamp, you will be fully ready. You will be ready to then choose a strategy and go tackle successful the markets and succeed. All right. So this will cover anything you might need to get that good foundation in, because at the end of the day, remember, education is the foundation. I hope you guys and girls are doing well. I will be doing the whole explanation today, and if there are any questions whatsoever, I will be covering them at the end. So if you have any questions throughout this Forex Bootcamp, you can always ask them, and I will always check my chat box at the end of every session. Let's go, Hilder Sonic. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Happy to have you on. My brother Louis is here from Belgium. We got another Go Live educator on here. Appreciate the support. Anastasia, good morning, good morning. Ready for an epic bootcamp. Forex Bootcamp, let's get it. Julian is on here as well. Jonah is on here. Choose to Win is on here. I love it, I love it, I love it, guys. Again, make sure everyone is on here that needs to be on here, because we're going to get started immediately. No time to lose. This is going to be probably a pretty long session, close to the 2-hour mark, because there's a lot to cover. And today, on day one of this Forex Bootcamp, welcome to day one to this Forex Bootcamp, right? Welcome to day one of the Back to the Basics Forex Bootcamp. And today on day one, we're going to be talking about the basic concepts of the Forex market, and about the history of the Forex market, and the history of money as well. I took a lot of notes along the way, all right? So I'm going to be looking at these notes as I go along to make sure I do not miss out on anything in particular. I'm going to be actually switching my view for the first part of this session. I'm going to be just talking to you. I'm not going to be taking notes myself. So before I dive into this, can't stress this enough. There's going to come a lot of information your way. All right. I'm going to share a lot of value. Make sure to take notes. All right. If you want to create a better tomorrow, you got to remember what is being said today. It's been scientifically proven that we forget between 75 to 85% of everything that is said to us within a couple of hours. So make sure to take notes. All right. Again, you can rewatch this session and complete your notes and go through this information multiple times, but make sure you take notes. Can't stress this enough. All right. Just gonna be me talking, because it's gonna be a lot. All right. It's gonna be really in depth, and we're gonna take it step by step. We're gonna build it up during this session, and we're gonna pretty much cover anything you might need to understand the basics of the Forex market today from a theoretical perspective. During day two, we're going to talk all about how to use TradingView. Gonna do a step-by-step tutorial of every single important feature and button you might need on TradingView, and that's gonna be tomorrow, right? And going to be an in-depth explanation how to use MetaTrader 4. During day 3, we're going to be talking about different types of analysis, going to be teaching you how to do a top-down analysis, how to do fundamental analysis, and how to do sentimental analysis. During day 4, we're going to be talking about risk management. We're going to be talking about trade plan, trade logs, trading diaries, right? And all of that good stuff. And we're going to be talking as well about, I'm going to be giving you a tutorial on how to link your account to my FX book to get in-depth data and an overview of things that are just not possible to spot with the naked eye. And then day 5 is going to be all about advanced trading and investing mindset. All right, so that's a little bit of an overview. Before we dive into today's day, I thought, let me give that. That's going to be the full week. Every day this week is going to be at the same time, so 8 a.m. Central European Time, 2 a.m. EST on this channel right here, all right? So same time, same place, every single day, 5 days a week. So that means I'm doing an extra session this week just for you guys, because I wanted this Forex Basics Bootcamp to be really, really good and really complete. To stay up to date with all most important information, you gotta just plug into the pip talk. I'm gonna drop that in the chat box. So let me maybe show that to you real quick as well before we dive in. I was a little bit too excited. I wanted to get started already, right? But again, basic bootcamp, right? Back to the Forex Basic Bootcamp from Monday to Friday this week, 8 a.m. Central European Time, 2 a.m. EST. And again, all information findable on the pip talk. I just dropped that in the chat. You're gonna get a reminder before we go live. Gonna get a message when we're live, as you can see, right? So just plug in there, the schedule of this week, findable there. So everything I just said is all in there. All right. Anyway, let's dive in, because I'm really excited. So let's get it. Welcome to day one once more of this Back to the Basics Forex Bootcamp. Today we're going to be talking about the history of Forex, the history of the Forex market, the history of money, and the basic concepts of the FRX market. All right, there's a lot to talk about, so I have some notes, right, so I don't overlook anything for you guys. Yeah, I'm gonna keep an eye on that, talk with you guys, make sure you're taking notes to the fullest. If you have any questions, drop them in the chat, I'll answer them at the end. And let's dive in. All right, we're gonna start basically from scratch. All right, we're gonna go all the way back. We're gonna start from completely step zero. And we're going to be covering anything you might need. So this is a good bootcamp. If you're brand new, you just signed up, you just joined, you don't know anything about trading, this is great for you. If you've already been trading for a while, also great for you. It's going to be a great refresher. You're going to learn a lot of information that you didn't know yet. And I always like to compare it like this. A foundation is key because of the following. It's like if your knowledge of the basic concepts is solid, that is one of the most important things which you might create and which you might work on. It's like building a house, right? You might have some foundation right now already. Maybe you learned already a little bit left and right, and maybe you've been trading or investing a little bit, but it's like building a house, right? If you're building a house and let's say 80% of your foundation is good, but 20% of your foundation, 20% of your house is built on quicksand, it's gonna collapse, right? You need a good, solid, 100% armed, strong foundation, right? And again, education is the foundation. So that is the goal of today and of this whole basic bootcamp, that we're gonna make sure that is solid, both for completely new individuals as for traders and IM members that have been here for a while already. A good foundation is key. All right, this is why I tell it as well every single day in the disclaimer. I tell you guys, make sure to do the 100 and 200 series, blah 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 blah. This is going to be kind of a replacement of that. So if you're not too keen on watching the 100 and 200, this bootcamp is going to literally teach you everything. So you can watch the 100 and 200 in addition to this, or just completely watch this and you're going to get started straight away as well. All right, straight away as well. It's going to be a very much more practical approach than what you're going to be seeing on the IM Center. There is more of a theoretical approach. Today will be a little bit more theoretical, but I will be showing as much as I can. And anything I talk about which is practical, I'm going to be showing to you guys immediately. All right. So I would suggest we just dive in and let's get started. All right. So Forex. Let's talk Forex. FRX. Forex. F-O-R-E-X. What does that stand for actually? Let's maybe start with the basics, all right? What does Forex stand for? For a lot of you that don't know this, Forex is an abbreviation which stands for the Forex exchange market, all right? Or in full, foreign currencies exchange market. So Forex, foreign exchange market. That's what it stands for, right? So that's very, very basic. If someone asks you what does Forex stands for, that you don't say, it stands for the Forex exchange market. It stands for the foreign exchange market, right? Coming from foreign exchange currencies, foreign currencies exchange, or exchanging foreign currencies against each other on the financial markets. That's what it stands for, all right? It is one of the biggest markets in the entire world, and there are different types of assets who are traded upon this. But before we dive into this, I would love to talk a little bit, go a little bit back in time, and I would love to talk a little bit about history, right? Because what is the Forex market? As I mentioned a second ago, what's in the name, right? Foreign currencies exchange market. So we're trading currencies here. This market is the market of money, right? It is the financial market where we literally trade money. So if we look to different financial markets, for example, the stock exchange, we're going to be trading stocks, right? Or if we're looking to the real estate market, we're going to be trading / investing in real estate, right? In this case, the foreign exchange market, we're going to be trading foreign currencies, or in other words, we're going to be trading money itself. Now, as you know, obviously, any other asset within this world is priced and valued in money, right? So if we're looking to a stock, we're saying this stock is worth so many dollars, right? This amount of dollars. Or if we look to real estate, this real estate property is worth so many dollars. So what we have with the Forex market is that it is the biggest financial market in the entire world, because we are trading money, right? So that's a very, very, very good question to ask yourself. A lot of people know what's the biggest market, but why is it the biggest market exactly? Well, again, because we are literally trading on that basic means that hold value. It is what's at the core of our whole monetary system, right? Of our whole economy, and we're trading on that concept that holds the value for us, which is money, right? And before we talk further about the Forex market, before we talk a little bit about, what is traded and which assets are actually traded within the Forex market, and how big is it then, that Forex market, and before we continue on everything I just dropped a little bit, I want to focus on that for a second. I want to focus on the money, right? Because it is the market of money. So where does money come from, and how was that created? What is money in the first place, and why at this day and age do we currently have dollars, euros, and why are we trading with this? It's pretty important to understand where money comes from. So we're going to take it all the way back, even further back in time, a little bit of a historical lesson to understand money, basically, so we can then go and understand the Forex market much, much better. In any type of investing, I think it's very much key to have as much knowledge about what it is you're investing in before you actually learn more about the financial market in question and how to, read the financial market and all of the other topics which we're also going to be covering today. As I said, going to be quite a long session, but we're going to be covering a lot. All right, so what is money? When was it invented? Who invented money? Let's take a look at everything. All right, the history of money is quite an interesting one. I'm gonna try to keep it as easy to understand as possible. I'm trying to not dive too long into this, but I think it's very, very, very important. It is very interesting to look at, and it goes back thousands of years if we look to the history of when money was basically created. It goes back to the early days of bartering, where we were exchanging goods to each other, to the first coins, and eventually then the paper money, right? So we're gonna take a look at it. We're gonna go in depth, and I'm gonna give you a little bit of a more deeper understanding of how was money basically created, and again, how did we get to the day of today, right? So money in itself, and this is very interesting to start with, money in itself a lot of the time does not have intrinsic value, right? And this is also how it is right now. Our money in itself, our euro coins, or dollar coins, or dollar bills, or euro bills, does not have any intrinsic value, right? Money right now, and in a lot of cases throughout history, money has been an object that has value placed upon it. It is a means of holding value, so to say, right? So it's an object where value is placed upon it, and that way it allows us to trade goods, to purchase services, to buy things, sell things, and so on and so on. Some money, for example, coins, right, has actual value to it. If you look to gold coins, can actually have intrinsic value, But if you look to money now, for example, our coins are not made of gold or not made of silver, do not have intrinsic value of their own, and paper money is obviously does not hold any intrinsic value of its own, and that is what is most modernly used right now. There's been a whole evolution of money though, and yeah, we're gonna take a look at it. How did we get right now to a point where money does not have actually intrinsic value? And was it always like this? It actually wasn't, right? Before money was invented, long ago, we're looking to about 5,000 years ago, right? In the Mesopotamian era, people were not using money. Money just did not exist, right? So about 5,000 years ago, what people did is they were trading, right? They were bartering with each other. So they were trading goods, right? They were basically trading goods and services in the sense that if I wanted to buy a sheep, for example, or I wanted 10 sheep, I could exchange a horse for 10 sheep, something like that, right? Or I had a bag of grain, but I wanted to have some milk, all right? I could exchange my bag of grain for like 6 jugs of milk. So goods were exchanged against each other, right? And about 5,000 years ago, so that's how it was the whole history, up until around 5,000 years ago, right? So in that Mesopotamian era, what happened is that people created the shekel. And the shekel is considered the first known form of currency, all right? Is the first known form of currency, the shekel. That was not a coin though, because gold and silver coins were only created about 650 to 600 before Christ, around the Greek period, right? When we had the ancient Greek at their rise. Ancient coins such as gold and silver coins were stamped and were, made and were mainly used to pay the armies, which was very much important at that time during ancient Greek times, right? We have some evidence which suggests that there were already metal coins as old as 1,250 years before Christ. But let's say in general that the most coins were invented around the period of 650, 600 before Christ, which is while the Greek were there. So we can go 5,000 years back, right? So 5,000 years ago, first invention of currency in the Mesopotamian era. And then real coins as we know it, as you would imagine it, like, because a shekel wasn't a coin, it was something entirely different. But real coins like silver and gold, 650, 600 years before Christ, all right? Now, what was used then before money, Nick? If money didn't exist like more than 5,000 years ago, what were people actually using, right? Well, again, people were bartering. People were just trading goods for services, for what they needed. As I just explained, some sheep against a horse and this and that and then some livestock against vegetables. Also, what could be traded is manual labor, right? Let's say someone needed some wood, right? All right, you could go work for a day for the woodsman and then you could get some wood, something like this, for example, right? So these were all kinds of transactions, like a service for a resource or a resource for a service or whatever. Those were kind of the first stepping stones of where money was created, because people pretty quickly ran into some issues, which is that not everything can be priced at the exact same point, right? So maybe, maybe someone wants to buy one sheep, but the horse is worth more, but what do? You can't like split up the horse or something in 3 pieces, right? It's not, well, normally it's not possible, right? So that's kind of an issue. And with that comes as well that people needed to, they needed to communicate and they needed to agree. So there was a lot of discussion constantly about what is a good deal and what is not a good deal. There was no set standard of what was the value of anything, by the way. It was just up to the individual to determine what the value of something was. But these first transactions, this first bartering system and trading system was the early building stones and was the first stepping stones for what we have right now, our modern economy. And I guess we could say it was one of the first stepping stones and the first trading that was happening as well, all the way back in the day, right? 5,000 years ago. So this was earlier even, so earlier than 5,000 years ago, right? So 6,000, 7,000 and so on and so on. We had that, right? Around 6,000 years ago, mainly that was on the height. There was a lot more trade being done by the Phoenicians in that case, which was Eastern Europe, like Eastern Europe, where you have a lot of civilization was started there, obviously. And again, goods were exchanged against each other and against services. A lot of the things that were traded at that time were like tea, salt, weapons, food, and so on and so on and so on. And that kind of went to evolve up until even the colonial, like, Americans were still trading, right? The people that were making colonies in ancient America, that were like, discovering America and making the first towns. Bartering was still used up until then, like fairly much, for pelts and for crops and for muskets, and for sure with local population, like when America, for example, was first invented, with Indians, the local populace, right? There, a lot of bartering was done. It wasn't so much that they could use money, because these cultures weren't using that same money, or weren't using money at all at that point. So bartering was the first step within our evolution of money. And after bartering, we go to the first metal coins, right? As I said earlier, first coins can be found potentially even 1,000 years before Christ in China, but more commonly used 600 years before Christ by the ancient Greek, right? These were coins which were stamped pieces of valuable metals like bronze, copper, and even later on silver coins, right? Would evolve over time into using more silver and using more coins, which was a more commonly used, right? Coins were a very big milestone in the evolution of money. Was a very big, if we look at that transformation, it was huge, because it was basically the first currency, right? It was the first currency which allowed people to pay by a certain amount of count, which allowed people to put a certain price on something, which allowed people to trade much more efficiently, because it was a common used concept, it was a commonly used object that held value, instead of in every town having something entirely different. Now money was actually introduced, and yeah, ancient Greek, they built out quite an empire, and then later on with the Romans, even more so, across the whole Mediterranean Sea, coins were really spread everywhere, and this is why trade flourished so much as well, because everyone used the same object to put value to something. So it was pretty big. So yeah, again, there's been a lot of different coins in different regions throughout history, but again, first coins about 1,000 years, and then we just had a whole evolution of that. The value of currencies and the materials that have been used have evolved throughout the years, but it's been a very important part of it, right? So coins. Enough about coins. When did paper money come then? So we had bartering, right? Exchanging of goods and services. Then we had the coins, 600 before Christ. So bartering, 6,000 before Christ, 5,000 before Christ. First currency, kinda, with that, in that Mesopotamian era, with that kind of like a shekel, which was invented, but coins more commonly used 650 before Christ. And then paper money was actually created, the first paper money was actually created in China, which a lot of you guys might not know, but it was invented about 700 to 800 years after Christ, right? It would be a very long time after that until paper money was commonly used though. So it was first time invented 700, 800 after Christ, but it's not that then everyone suddenly started using paper money. In the Middle Ages, up until, the whole Middle Ages, 500 till 1500, everyone was using still coins. So it was just a really early invention within China, 700, 800 after Christ. Because if we look to, let's say, Great Britain, right? The first country to really implement then paper money was all the way at 1455, so 1455, which is about, let me see for a second, like 700, 800 years later only, after China already invented it. All right. Why was paper money such a big deal in comparison to coins? Because obviously the weight of paper is much less, right? Which allows you to more easily carry it, which allows for much easier international trade as well. It also created problems in the sense that, you know, if you have a gold coin, it doesn't really matter if you're from a different culture or if you're from a different economical system in that case, because it's gold, right? It doesn't really matter whose face is stamped upon it. When it comes to paper money, that is way more of an issue, right? So when paper money got introduced, it did allow for much easier international trade, but it did create a lot of distrust, and it did create a lot of currency wars as well, in the sense of what is now the most important currency, which paper money should be paid more attention to, and so on and so on. But again, also create a lot of opportunities to trade in new places for new goods. Yeah. So it's pretty cool. So that's paper money. After paper money, we had another step within the evolution of money, and that is the bills of exchange. All right. And bills of exchange became a very common part in the world economy. A bill of exchange was kind of a written order, right? That a person or a group will pay a certain amount of money on demand. So it's kind of like a check, you know, kind of like an early concept of a check. So instead of immediately needing to pay, you could have a bill of exchange, you sign in both, and then you do the whole transaction, you do the trade, and then afterwards you go to the bank and you get that money that that person actually owes you. So it's kind of an agreement to then later on settle. So international trade was even able to be done more easily, right? Again, quite interesting to mention here is that when paper money was introduced, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of more international trade was possible. So really a lot of opportunities were created, but it did also lead to currency wars, right? And currency wars basically occurred and happened because different nations and different leaders then of different nations and empires and this and that try to devalue their own currency. And why would they try to devalue their own currency? Because if a leader devalued their own currency of their in their country, right, or in their nation, when that happened, that increased demand and it helped stimulate their economy. So what the central institutions are doing now already was already kind of happening in the early ages, right? So again, this still kind of occurs in the current foreign exchange market, and it is just something that is inevitable to happen when we have several nations together and when we have paper money being introduced. It can have negative consequences. It can create to currency volatility as well, but it is just a part of the trading and it's just a natural part of the evolution. So for those of you interested in that, that's just something that got created when paper money got introduced into the world. And then we'll talk about the last step, one of the last steps. We had that paper money. Now, obviously, we needed the introduction of banks, right? When did banks actually step into the picture? Commercial banks, central banks, the two biggest market participants in today's Forex market, right? When did they come into the picture? Well, first banks were actually started all the way in the Roman Empire. So long time ago, 1,800 years before Christ, banks were already in the picture, were already existing. And back in the day, when we look to the ancient Roman Empire, what banks did is banks were already offering loans and were accepting deposits for individuals, right, for customers. But when the Roman Empire disappeared, banks disappeared as well. And with the let me take a sip of water. So with the Roman Empire disappearing, sadly enough, banks disappeared as well, as did a lot of advancements and innovations that the Romans actually did. We kind of went a step back in the Middle Ages, and then only in the 19th century, banks, came back into the picture and became that respectable organization that we know it as of today, right? So that's when banks were created within communities, and reserve banking was introduced as well. within the picture. The first bank in the US, by the way, the Bank of the United States, was established in 1798. So it was a huge step in the evolution of money, because what banks allowed us to do is that we as people and as customers, we're not going to all withdraw all of our money at once, right? So very soonly, when banks got created, banks learned that they could loan more money out than they actually had, for the simple reason that, if you have a lot of customers, people are just not going to take all of their money out of the bank at once at any given point. And this is what banks started doing already starting from the 18th centuries fairly soon, to accumulate their wealth and to grow in their business as well, and to stimulate the economy in that sense as well. Now we fast forward a couple of years. We're looking at 1816 at this point, and this is a very important date in the evolution of money. So to recap everything, right? We had initially the bartering, then we had the coins being introduced, then we had the paper money for the first time being introduced, right? Then we had those bills of exchange, those types of agreement. We talked a little bit about the currency wars. We have the banks now that came into the picture, and the last step that I wanted to talk about, and I know I'm paying a lot of attention to this, but I promised you guys I was going to give you a little bit of history concerning money, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about the Forex market, and then we're going to dive in and take it a little bit more practical. But again, understanding what we trade is key. I think a lot of you are investing within the Forex market without you even knowing any of this information, right? So I think this is extremely important to take it from scratch and to understand what is money actually and where does it come from. So again, after banks were created, a very important step in the evolution of money to talk about is the gold standard, right? What was the gold standard? And you might have heard about this, you might have not heard about this. This was how previously our monetary system ran, all right, before we had the fiat system which we have today. The gold standard was invented and put into place in 1816. And the gold standard means that gold was the standard of value in the country of England at that time, right? So it was first introduced in England and then afterwards globally introduced and accepted, all right? So what does that mean? Gold made the standard of value. What does that mean? That means that every banknote, every paper money, right? Every bill of money represented a certain amount of gold. So when a lot of you heard about that, oh, money is backed up by gold, right? Wrong. It used to be. It's not anymore, all right? It used to be. When the gold standard was in place, this was exactly how things were running. So every bill, every currency, money that was around there, every paper bill was backed up by gold. So every bill represented a certain amount of gold, a certain amount of grams of gold, right? This way, only a limited amount of banknotes and paper bills could be printed, and every paper bill actually held value because it was backed up by something, right? Which is, in comparison to how it is now, not how it is anymore, right? But that's how it was when we had the gold standard. This introduced a lot of stability within the economy because some currencies that were unbacked by that weren't backed by anything that actually had intrinsic value, again, gained value and were now all of a sudden backed by something that did have value, and it created a lot of stability for currency in general, for currencies in general, right? What happens is that is 1816. By 1900, the United States, right, the US, follows this as well. They have the Gold Standard Act as well, and they also were following the gold standard. So again, was introduced in 1816 in England, but then later on also in the US, and globally used pretty much everywhere. This gold standard was also the thing that led to the first central bank in the US that was created, right? Which was actually introduced around that time as well. The gold standard ended in 1930, all right? So around 1930, after the First World War and before the Second World War, they stopped using the gold standard due to the depression, the economic depression, which happened after the First World War. and due to the devaluation of gold as well, due to the First World War, right? So we used the gold standard from around 1816 up until 1930, after that First World War, when we had a big economic depression. And that's where we come now, right? And that's what happened now. Then the fiat system was introduced, and that's what we use nowadays, right? So how does it work right now? Everything today has everything today has taken the form of US dollars, has taken the form of our currencies. We even have cryptocurrencies at this point. So we have a lot of modern day money in this sense, but we need to, and we have credit cards, we have debit cards, right, which are super duper interesting. We can do online payments, as you all know. We have that digital currency as well. But our system that we use right now, which was chosen to be implemented after the gold standard was done away with, is what we call the fiat system. All right, and I'm gonna just keep it lightly when it comes to that, because it's pretty complicated explanation if we would dive really deep into this, and I think you have the bigger picture of the evolution of money, and that is the most important. But the fiat system means that now we're not comparing our money anymore to gold. So our money is not backed up by gold anymore. It doesn't it's not that a bill means that it's worth or it values a certain amount of gold. That's not what's the case anymore. A lot of people still think this. If you go to the bank, that the bank has all of this gold which backs them, that is not true. All right, we stopped the gold standard in 1930s. Now we have that fiat system, and that means that all the currencies are now not compared to gold anymore, but they're compared to one currency. So they chose one currency to be the main reserve currency, which all other currencies could be compared to, right? And that main reserve currency which was chosen was the US dollar, for the very simple reason that, again, we had the big depression, big economic depression, and the devaluation of gold in the 1930s after the First World War. And why America? Well, America, first and foremost, kind of saved us during the First World War, right? They literally came to save Europe and the rest of the world. And second reason, because at that time, economically, America was very, very, very strong. It is thanks to America that a lot of the rebuilding in Europe was done as well. So financially, they gave a lot of aid to Europe and to, the other countries after the First World War. So it was only logical at that moment to decide that the US dollar was the most strongest currency, which it was at that moment, and to choose that currency to be the main reserve currency. To compare all the other currencies to. And this is still the system we use right now. It's been almost 100 years. So if this is still the best system to use, is up for discussion. If the dollar is still the most stable and strong currency out there, also up for discussion. That's not what we're going to be doing here today. But that is the current economical monetary system that we have today, which is called the fiat system, right? So everything compared to the US dollar as a main reserve currency. All right. I hope you guys are getting some value. This is pretty much an in-depth insight in the evolution of money, in the history of money. And to understand this better, which you know now, is understanding what you're investing in much better, which means you're going to be a better investor and you're going to be a better trader in the first place. All right. So really important. What is traded? This is the financial market of money, right? To finish this little bit of a history lesson, I guess, let's talk when the Forex market then actually came into place, right? When was the Forex market then actually started? When did we start trading these currencies? Again, as I mentioned, like bartering system and original trade already 6,000 years before Christ. But when did the Forex market came into the picture as we know it the day of now, and what we are doing right now, and what I'm going to be teaching you, the foreign exchange. The foreign exchange market, like how was that invented and where did that came from? Let's take a small look at that as well, and then we'll again take a little bit of a more practical approach to the rest of the session. So let's dive in. All right, about 2,500 years ago, the ancient Greeks and ancient Egyptians, as I said already before, were already trading goods, right? 6,000 years before, we're already bartering, as I mentioned. And about 2,500 years ago, already, trading goods, already having some form of currency, because the first currency was invented in 5,000 years before Christ, and then 600 before Christ, 650 we had coins, you know. So there was already a lot of trading going on right there. And as I mentioned earlier, during the Roman Empire, it really amped up. Like trading in general really went to the next level, since currency minting, which is the creation of coins, was centralized, right? And that was for the first time ever that the making of coins was really government run, right? It was like a monopoly on who could make coins, right? And that's also when the currency trading was kind of established, right? That centralized monopoly-like structure that was created in the Roman Empire actually still exists today, and that's what we see within the central banks, right? The central banks still hold that monopoly to create money. The commercial banks can't create money, you can't print money, I can't print money. It's only the central banks of a company that hold, central bank of the country, the company of the country that holds that monopoly, just like it was in the old ancient Roman days. Only they can make new money and they can decide new monetary policies, right? So we fast forward a little bit, right? About 1,000 years ago, in the Middle Ages, we had a lot of copper, which was being used for coins, and still nowadays, by the way, in a lot of coinage in the US as well, in Europe as well, the smaller coins, the cents, are still a small percentage of copper. A lot of people think they're pure copper. It's not true. It's only like 2% copper, if it even still holds copper. But anyway, oldest bank in the world was the Monte dei Paschi, right? It was built around that same time as well, so around 1,000 years during the Middle Ages, and it facilitated that first currency transaction already. So why am I mentioning this bank again? Because this bank was the first place where different currencies could be traded, right? As we see right now as well, because if we go to our bank, we can actually do Forex, right? If we want to, if we go to the airport, we have these terminals where we can actually exchange our money to the currency that we want. And that was actually already happening about 1,000 years ago. So absolutely crazy. Oldest bank in the world established that did, you know, Forex exchange of currencies, established in Italy. Now the first Forex market itself, like an actual Forex market, was established in Amsterdam, all right? About 500 years ago. So 500 years ago from today, right? So that is in like 1500, right? At the end of the Middle Ages. Amsterdam, Netherlands. It created the possibility to freely trade different currencies, and it really helped to stabilize currency exchange rates. Instead of people just randomly deciding what they could exchange the one currency for the other, now they actually had a Forex market, right? For the first time ever about 500 years ago in Amsterdam. And very soon the Forex traders, you know, Forex markets were introduced throughout the whole entire world. As we mentioned earlier, we had that gold standard which was introduced, right? Which we already talked about, which meant that every country was now limited in the amount of currencies that they could create, right? Since it depended on how much gold the country had, because every single bill or every single coin needed to be backed up with gold. So gold standard, you know, we just talked about it. It really had a purpose, and the main purpose of it, I guess, was to guarantee the value of a currency, right? It was to make sure that money wasn't just, they taught it back in the day, and they said, wait a second, money can't just be something random, right? It can't just be a paper that doesn't hold any value whatsoever. That's not what's possible, right? They should have known, they should have probably had a heart attack if they knew what the situation was today. But anyway, that's a different story. But back in the day, that they wanted money to actually be backed up by a specific value. And then again, as I mentioned earlier, First World War, we had that gold standard, which was done away with because, again, like, not only did we have a devaluation of gold, not only did we have an economic depression, but also because there needed to be restoration, right? There was a lot of destruction done, which meant a lot of countries needed to print more money, right? To keep everything in place and to finance all of the expenses which basically happened. So they needed to print more money than they had gold, and this is one of the main reasons also why the gold standard was done away with. Now again, Forex, let's take a look at Forex. How did that evolve, right? So first Forex market about 500 years ago, then we had that gold standard. Well, in 1913, the number of Forex trading firms went from only about 3 to 71 firms every 10 years in London. London being the historical center of trade since the very beginning of time. And at that time, in around 1930, about 50% of all Forex transactions were done in the pound sterling, in the pound, right? The Great British pound. So again, that just shows how important London was during the Industrial Revolution. It was the center of trade, and it's also, again, where our Forex market originates, which is not really a surprise, right? Still, nowadays, a couple of years ago, they did a survey around 2013. The pound is still the fourth most traded currency at that time, after the dollar, the euro, and the yen. So pound still one of the biggest and most important trading currency out there, right? During World War II, after that gold standard, the Bretton Woods system was introduced, which was a new monetary system, right? It was a successor after that gold standard, as I said. And then eventually that was ended, and then the fiat system was implemented. So I didn't mention it earlier because it's a little bit more in detail, but we had gold standard, Bretton Woods system, which I'm not going to go in detail how that worked. And then the fiat system, which we have today. Now today our Forex market is the biggest financial market in the world. Let's get back to a little bit more of a practical approach on this. It is the biggest market ever, all right? It can be very, very volatile. There's a lot of currencies that is traded, and it's a market that is open 24/5, all right? Super duper interesting. Why is it the biggest market in the world? Well, because now you understand. You just heard me explain the whole evolution of money, the whole history of money. We touched a little bit upon the history of the Forex market itself as well. Well, why is it the biggest financial market? Because any other asset in the entire world is valued with money, right? I said it earlier, but I can't stress it enough. We are trading at the base core of what is value, or what holds value within our society and within our world, right? That's why it is the biggest. How big is it then exactly, Nick? Well, it has a volume daily, a daily volume of about $6.6 trillion every single day. And this is data that comes out of 2019. In 2016, it was 5.1 trillion a day. So in only 3 years time, it went from daily volume of $5.1 trillion every single day, volume traded, to 6.6, right? Which is 1.5 trillion more. That's 2019. Now we're 2022. So let's say it's 1.5 million volume daily, again more. So we're probably at the like let's say 8 trillion mark almost, right? Volume daily day. But they should do a new survey. So the latest information that I can tell you is at the least 6.6 trillion daily volume traded within the Forex market every single day. And this is data that originates from 2016. A lot of people... My stream got interrupted here for a second. All right, it's picking up again. I hope we are good. We had a little bit of a drop there, so it stopped for a second. All right, so a lot of people like to talk about market cap, right? And you might have seen market cap thrown around left and right. The market cap of the cryptocurrency market, the market cap of Bitcoin, the market cap of gold, or this or that. Market cap and daily volume are something entirely different. Market cap, to put it very simply, is the total amount of money within a specific market, right? The total amount of money, like what is the total value of all of that asset combined. So if we would look at all the Bitcoin in the entire world, what is the value of that, right? Of all Bitcoin together. That's the market cap of Bitcoin, for example. Or all the value of all gold in the entire world. What's the market cap of gold? Now, if we look to currencies and to money, right, which I was just talking about, to the Forex market, that 6.6 trillion is daily volume. That's not market cap, all right? That's daily volume. And trillion, by the way, is 12 zeros, right? 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. That's 12 trillion for you, right? That's daily volume. The market cap, which a lot of people don't know, but the market cap within the Forex market is, I'm going to have to check this because this is a big number. Total value of the Forex industry is at this moment $2,409 quadrillion, all right? Quadrillion, which is even a step further, all right? That's a couple of more zeros. That is the current market cap, and that is why it is the biggest financial market in the world. There's nothing that even comes as close as this. So very interesting to trade in, if I would say, right? Very, very, very interesting market to learn how to trade in, if you understand what I've just been telling you, all right? Again, hope you guys are getting value. We got that history a little bit out of the way. We covered so far evolution of money, history of money, history of the Forex market, and appreciate the support for everyone in the chat box here. And now we talked a little bit about why is the Forex market basically the biggest market in the world, all right, with that 6.6 trillion daily volume and a market cap of 2,409 quadrillion, right? Absolutely crazy, absolutely crazy. All right, very important and very, very interesting to touch upon further is we can go a couple directions, but let's continue with what we talked about with the history and then now that gap, right? Let me shift the screen and let me start showing you a little bit of practical things here. So if we open our trading view, and I'm going to do a full in-depth tutorial on how to use trading view tomorrow. So just stick with me. If you don't understand anything, it's okay. You know, just keep that for what it is. We're going to go and dive in deep tomorrow. But what is important to talk about right now is the following. We looked at a history and evolution of money. We looked at a history of the Forex market. We understand now what, how big this market basically is. Why does money at this point still hold value? Drop me in the chat box. Does money still hold value, right? Drop me in the chat box what you guys think. Does money still hold value? And if you're watching this in the recording, take a piece of paper and write it down. Write the answer down. Does money still hold value? You just listen to all of this history and background information. This is probably the most important question you can ask yourself after learning all of this. Does money still hold value? Right? If we take a look at money, does it still hold value? Really, really interesting question. And the answer to this is that on the one hand it does, on the other hand it doesn't, right? Our current money, we had a whole evolution where people were trading goods that had intrinsic value because a sheep has value, right? They were trading coins that had value. They were using paper money, but paper was backed up by resources. So you could trade your paper money for gold or for diamonds or for whatever. So it had intrinsic value. We had the gold standard even, which had intrinsic value. But then we had the Bretton Woods system and now the fiat system, right? Our money right now, today, across the whole world, does not have any physical value anymore. It does not have intrinsic value anymore, all right? A lot of people like to say this, oh, money doesn't grow on trees, right? Oh, it doesn't grow on trees, right? But right now, I'm going to be honest, today, it does, all right? Because as far as I know, paper which what all of our bills are made of, we have paper bills, is made from wood. And wood, as far as I know, grows on trees, right? People like to say money doesn't grow on trees, but in this sense it does. Because it does not hold any intrinsic value anymore. You understand? This is very important to get. It's not that you can go to your bank and the bank does not have all of the money which is going around backed up by gold anymore. It does not, all right? The sole reason why money has value, so on the one hand, it doesn't, because it doesn't have physical or intrinsic value, but it does have value. But the reason why it has value and the reason why we can use money now to go buy food in the store is because we as a society and as people give it value. All right? That is the only reason. If from today on tomorrow, the whole world and financial institutions would tell you, sorry, I'm very sorry, but your money is not worth anything anymore, that would be it. That's a very unlikely scenario to happen, so please don't stress out about it. But it's just something that I wanted to put out there, all right? And it is something that can help you when it comes to creating a healthy mindset of an investor and a trader as well. Because when you're trading, a lot of us tend to get emotional, right? And this is getting a little bit into the trading mindset, but I just want to mention this here because it's very important to throw it out here already. A lot of us become emotional because we're thinking about how much money we're making with this trade, right? How much value this is going to have for us. Oh, if this trade hits, I can go buy this. Or this is my rent. Or this is my down payment on my car. Or this is whatever. We link it. We link the amount of money we could earn with a certain value, right? And that is why we get emotional. Correct or not? Now, what I want you to start doing is I want you to remember this lesson of today, part 1, and I want you to remember that the only reason why money holds value is because we as a society give it value. So if you open your bank account right now, what do you see? You see some numbers, right? And that's just it. I'm going to tell you maybe this is going to shock some people. If you have a decent enough savings account where there's enough money on there, right? If you go to your bank, to your local bank down the street, and you say, hello, can I please have everything on my savings account right now in cash? They will and cannot give it to you. So not only is it not backed up by gold, they don't have the gold to back up the money, but they don't even have the physical money. You understand what I'm saying? They don't have it. There's no vault with a whole bunch of money there. Some bigger banks do, but a lot of your local smaller banks, they don't. It's just numbers, guys. It's just numbers. It's fugazi, so to say, right? Of course, money is important, and of course, it's really, really important in our current society. I'm not saying it's that we should just throw away with money and go live in nature or something. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying, keep this in the back of your mind when you're trading. Remember that it's just a number. So when you're trading, don't look at your trade and be like, oh, you're running so much in profit or in loss, this amount of money. No. Just look at it as a number. Because guess what? That's what your bank does. Your bank just looks at you as a number. Your bank just looks at your account as a number, right? And they're using savings accounts of people to loan out more money to other individuals, as we learned, which already happened hundreds of years ago. That is for sure happening today. And they are using that money of their customers to invest themselves. And a big part of the investments that banks, and for sure commercial banks, do is within the Forex market. We're going to touch upon that a little bit later, right? So see it as a number. Don't look at it as it's running so much in profit or loss. Just look at it as, okay, that's 0.5% risk of my capital, 0.5% risk, or that's 0.75% risk, or that's 1% risk, max 1%. Please don't ever go over 1%. Just look at it as a number. You're going to be much less emotional, all right? So does money still hold value? Intrinsic and physical value? No. Does it still hold value? Yes, because we give it value as a society, all right? Something very interesting to show you here on the trading view, and We're going to have to explain this a little bit later. I'm going to have to explain this a little bit later, but something interesting to show you is if we look to our different currency pairs, right? Have you ever noticed, and I'm going to explain what this value means, but let's just say right now, this is the value of AUD CAD, right? Australian dollar, Canadian dollar, two of our currencies. This is the value of our AUD CHF, Australian dollars, Swiss franc, and so on and so on. I'm going to go a little bit more in depth in a second. If we look at our currencies, have you ever noticed how every single one of the values of our currency pairs, and we have about 28 main currency pairs in total, both the major and the minor crosses combined. Did you ever notice that all of them are around the number 1? Look at this. AUD CAD, a little bit less than 1. AUD CHF, a little bit less than 1. AUD NZD, a little bit more than 1. AUD USD, a little bit less than 1. And we can keep it going. A little bit less than 1, a little bit more than 1. And I can go through the whole list. You're going to see it's all around the number 1, right? And this is, guys, where I'm going to link all of the theory and history and everything I taught up until now to some practical things. Why is that, you think? This is what I explained you guys. This is because our monetary system we have right now is a fiat system. And the fiat system means that we have one main reserve currency. And guess what our main reserve currency is? US dollar. So the reason why all of this is around the same number is because every single of our main bigger currencies or more stable currencies is compared to the dollar. This is why it's all around number 1. All right? And there's only one exception to the story, and that is every single currency pair which is paired with the Japanese yen is not at all close to 1. It is in this case 107, or all of a sudden 148, or AUD GPY is 895, completely different. And that is because due to historical purposes, so I told you that they went away with the gold standard. They put the Bretton Woods system in place. And I think after the First World War, they put the fiat system in place, but I'm not too sure about these dates. So they changed the gold standard. That's the point. And the new system they put in place when they chose the main reserve currency as the US dollar, right? The US dollar was the main reserve currency. Japan didn't want that, right? Because Japan historically was fighting against the United States during both world wars, right? So because of that reason, now still today, we can see within our Forex market that it has a completely different value because they have different economical agreements and they didn't want to link their currency as much as, for example, the euro or the Australian dollar or other main reserve currencies do. Because linking your currency is very good if the main reserve currency is going good, but it's also very dangerous because if the main reserve currency is going worse, that means your currency is automatically also going to weaken, right? So it's like a positive and a negative thing to it. Something else you might notice is that not every currency which exists in the entire world is tradable upon the Forex market, all right? There are about 170 different currencies worldwide. Not all of them are tradable upon the Forex market. It depends also on which broker you have, of course, but if we look to the main brokers, a lot of the time currencies like the Chinese yen or the Russian ruble, they are not tradable upon the Forex market because, again, historically, what happened, and also because economically they're not as accessible and they don't have as many economical agreements as the rest of our main reserve currencies do with our US dollar, right? So in general, the like most retail traders are never going to be trading the Chinese yen or the Russian ruble, for example, for those exact reasons. So as you can see, historical perspective has a very, very big impact on what is happening actually today to understand, where does it actually come from? And what is happening. Another thing to point out is that nowadays our US dollar is on one of the sides of what we trade. So US dollar is in about 88% of all Forex trades that are executed, all right? And then besides this, we have 7 currency pairs or 7 main currency pairs, which are made with our 7 main currencies, which hold up to 68% of the Forex market trading volume. All right, so really crazy numbers to take into account right there. Something else I want to mention before we dive a little bit deeper is the following. Something really important to know is that if we look to that, and that's probably going to be one of the last things we take away from the history, we learned about that evolution of money, right? And we learned how nowadays, obviously, we use paper money that much more, right? And we learned how even within the Roman Empire, that monopoly of creating money was centralized by the government, right? And that this is still how it is today. This is why we have a central institution. And we call it a central institution, right? In every single country, we have one central institution which is allowed, and only that institution is allowed to create more money. It's what we call the central bank, right? For the US government, that's called the Federal Reserve. They give it different names, but it's basically the central bank of a nation or a country. So the central bank of the US is called the Federal Reserve. The central bank of Great Britain, I'm just going to name a couple, is called the Bank of England. The central bank for everything in Europe, for the euro currency, is called the European Central Bank, or also the ECB, right? Federal Reserve is also abbreviated with Fed, and Bank of England, BOE, and then so on and so on. Those are the most important ones, but then we have also the central banks for Australian dollar, Canadian dollar, and so on and so on and so on, right? So every single of our important currencies, and every currency has a central bank. What does that central bank do? The central bank determines monetary policies, really, really, really important, but it is also allowed to obviously print money. As I said before, they're the only one who are allowed to create basically more money within this world of that specific currency. Now this is good that not everyone can just print money, but it also has created quite an interesting scenario, because where we used to have the gold standard, where banks couldn't just print as much money as they wanted because every dollar bill they printed, or every pound or every euro they printed, needed to be backed up by gold, right? Now our money is not backed up by anything anymore, which means that after we shifted and we went to main reserve currency, guess what? Central institutions were allowed to print as much as they needed. And sure, they started out normally, trying to control themselves, trying to, not overprint. But in the past years, we have had crazy amounts of money printed. And I'm going to give you a number to just put things into perspective. Between 2018 and 2020, which is in a span of 2 years, 80+% of all US dollars that were ever printed in the history of mankind were printed. All right? So let me say that again in a different way. Of all the dollars that were ever printed in the whole history of human mankind, 80% was printed in the past 2 to 4 years. And that's a fact, all right? You can do your research on this. That's a fact. Is it any surprise why we are currently in the economical situation that we are? We are September 2022 and inflation is higher than it has ever been before. Inflation went close to 10%. Is that any surprise, guys? If we know that 80% of all the US dollars were printed in the past 2 to 4 years, it's no rocket science, right? If you keep printing money like it's nothing, like a machine, like without thinking what the consequences might be, the consequence of this is, guess what? There's more money in circulation, right? More money means that demand is going to increase and is going to be way higher than supply. Demand being higher than supply, right, means that everything is going to rise in price, which is what inflation is. Inflation means that the prices of goods increase, all right? So maybe take this back a couple of steps. If you're brand new, what did I just mention? Supply, demand, inflation. Let's take an example. If I have my phone here, right? My phone. Let's take my phone. And let's explain supply and demand real quick. A very basic economical principle. I have a lot more things to talk about, by the way, but we're making great progress here. I was telling you guys this was going to be a longer session, but really, really, really in-depth one. And you will not need anything else after watching this session. So, phone. Let's talk supply and demand. If there's a lot of phones available and not a lot of people who want the phone, price is going to be low. Let's look at iPhone, right? We're now at iPhone, newest version, 14, 15. I'm not really an iPhone guy myself. If we look at the iPhone 10 from years ago, there's a lot of iPhone 10s out there, or 11 or 12, right? And the price of an iPhone 10 is much less than the newest iPhone, right? Why is that? Because there's a lot of iPhone 10s available, so supply is really high, and demand for an iPhone 10 is lower than the supply. There's less people that want an iPhone 10 than that there's iPhone 10s. You understand? And this is not me marketing iPhone. Again, I'm not even using iPhone myself, but just using it as an example. So there's more iPhone 10s than that there's people that want an iPhone 10. There's more supply than that there's demand. So the price goes lower. When we look to the newest iPhone, however, right? Whatever the newest iPhone is, when you're watching this video. When we look to the newest iPhone, what we see is the other way around. There's a lot of people who want the newest iPhone, right? And there's only a certain amount of iPhones of the newest iPhone which is available. Because it's just being made, of course. So there's more demand than there's supply. So price is high. So, and this counts for everything. Guess why water, right? Water is pretty cheap. Because there's more water in the world available than that there's demand. In some geographical locations and geopolitical situations, that's a different story, but yeah. In normal first world situations, we have more availability of water than that there's a need of water. So more supply than demand, price of something is low. You understand that principle? I hope that is clear. All right, I hope that is clear. So supply, demand determines prices, right? And again, 80% of all the money printed in the past 2 to 4 years, 80% of all the US dollar ever printed, if there's a lot of money now all of a sudden, which comes into the economy, money needs to be spent. So companies, businesses, people as well, have a lot more money to spend, so they want to spend that money, which means that demand is going to increase. Demand higher than supply, prices go up. If demand increases, price increases. If supply increases and demand goes lower, price goes lower. But demand increased a lot because the amount of money increased. So inflation increased bigger than ever before. And again, inflation, to put very simply, is that your money, the power of your money becomes less worth. So what you can buy with $1, you can buy less, that you can buy less with $1 than you used to be able to buy with $1. So let's say you could buy a coffee for $1 in 1990, and now for $1 you only have 1/5 of a coffee because a coffee costs you $5, right? So that's what inflation is. It's basically evolution of prices of the same product, that the price goes up, right? That's what inflation is. I'm not gonna give you a whole training about inflation here. If you guys are interested in this, I can maybe explain it somewhere else. I do think I actually already have a training on inflation on my on one of my Go Live channels, so go check that out. All right, so really interesting. Are you having value, guys? Are you having value? I hope you guys are finding this super duper interesting. Amazing. We have a lot more to cover, so let's keep it rolling. Let's keep it rolling. All right. So. Yes. What is let's take a look at a couple of things. All right. So we talked about the abbreviation of Forex. We talked about the history of the Forex market. We talked about what makes the Forex market so unique, biggest financial market in the world. We talked about why it is the biggest financial market in the world. We talked about US dollar being the main reserve currency. We talked about history of the Forex market and evolution of money, as I said a second ago. And we talked about, how money is being printed, inflation is being created. We talked about different currency pairs and how some currencies are less linked to the main reserve currency than others due to historical reasons as well, right? So we talked about a lot. Let's dive in and make things a little bit more. And we talked about why money still holds value or why it doesn't still hold value, right? Let's dive in a little bit more. And let's talk a little bit more practically. Let's start with what? What is traded within this Forex market, right? Let's first start with what, then with who is actually trading in this Forex market, and then when can we trade this Forex market, right? So what is traded within this Forex market? There are 4 main asset classes. I'm going to call them a asset class, right? So different 4 classes of different kinds of assets which are a part of the Forex market. And those 4 different classes are the currency pairs, right? With our major currency pairs, our minor currency pairs, and our exotic currency pairs. The major currency pairs is every currency pair which is linked with the US dollar. Minor currency pair is then every currency pair which does not have the US dollar in it. And an exotic currency pair is a currency which is less stable or more volatile combined with US dollar, like for example, Mexican pesos, US dollar, right? Those are currency pairs. That's class number 1. Class number 2 of what is traded within the Forex market are commodities. Commodities are everything physical, all right? So everything physical you can imagine that is tradable, oil, silver, gold, gas, those are all commodities, all right? Commodities in general require a little bit of a bigger account. Some of them have a minimum required lot size you need to use, like with oil. So take that into account. And they're more volatile as well. So commodities in general move a little bit faster. If we look to gold, you can easily see gold moves at least 10 times faster than the average currency pair. So more volatile and very influenced by news and fundamentals as well. For sure, specifically by US dollar news, all right? So if there's any news that hits our main reserve currency, a lot of it has an influence on the commodities. So that's our second class. So currency pairs, commodities. Third possible class, which is traded within the Forex market, is the indices, all right? The indices. Now you're going to say, wait, these are the indexes, right? Yes and no, all right? So, and we're gonna dive into this in a second. So these are different indexes like US 30, DAX 30, NASDAQ 100, and so on and so on. By no means am I any expert in commodities or indices or in the 4th class cryptocurrency. I myself have specialized in currency pairs, so I'm gonna just touch upon them lightly and explain why they're a part of the Forex market, but I'm not an expert in them, all right? So indices, US 30, DAX 30, NASDAQ 100, you can kind of see them as very easy explanation of it. It's kind of a stock package, all right? It's a combination of different stocks. Like in the case of the US 30 is the 30 biggest industries within the US. And for every one of those industries, they take the market leader within that industry. And then they take the stock value of all of those 30 companies, which are the market leader within the 30 biggest industries of the US. And they take the average value of the stock, they throw that together, they calculate that in a certain way, and that is going to be the value of the US 30. DAX 30 is then the same, but then for Germany, every single country has different indexes, all right? In Belgium, my country of origin, we have, for example, the Bel 20 and so on and so on. So every country has different indices. An index is really, really interesting because it gives us information, like economically it's really interesting because it gives us information on how well an economy is doing. Let's say the US 30 is really, really high. That means that the stock value average of the third biggest company, of the 30 market leaders, of the biggest industries within that country are going up, right? So in other words, it means that those companies are doing very well. So those industries are doing very well, so the country is doing very well, right? So if indexes are going up, in general, it gives us information that the country economically is in a good place. If indexes are going down, generally it gives us information that the country economically is struggling a little bit or going through some type of recession or some type of financial or economical difficult event, right? So really interesting. Indexes, very volatile as well, much more volatile than currency pairs, very highly influenced by the US news as well, or by the news of the currency of the country they're the index from. So if we look to DAX 30, gonna be very influenced by the euro, for example, because that's the index for Germany, right? So depending on which currency you're trading, but the main big currencies which are being traded, you know, the US 30, the Nasdaq 100, obviously highly influenced by the US dollar. So that's the third class. So 4 things that are traded within the Forex market, 4 classes of assets: currency pairs, commodities, indices, and fourthly, cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency doesn't need an introduction on itself. I think nowadays, if you didn't hear of cryptocurrency just yet, you know, just do a simple Google search and you're immediately going to get caught up. Bitcoin, Ethereum, Ripple, whatever it might be that is your interest, also a part of that Forex market. Very, very volatile as well. Very highly influenced on supply and demand and on hype as well. How much confidence and trust there is within the crypto market at that moment very much influences the state and the value of those different cryptocurrencies, right? So those are the different 4 classes of assets that can be traded. Very important to point out is that multiple of those are assets of their own. They're only part of the Forex market if they are coupled with US dollar, all right? So this is very interesting to point out, and this is again something that a lot of people do not know. The main key feature of the Forex market is that we have a balance between 2 assets. That is what the Forex market is, all right? That we have a balance between 2 assets. In this case, if we look to the currency pairs, it's a balance between 2 different currencies. CAD CHF, the balance between Canadian dollar and Swiss franc, right? If we look to AUD USD, the balance between Australian dollar and US dollar, right? This is really, 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 really important to understand. Really, really, really key, all right? That is what the main feature of the Forex market is. And that balance between those 2 assets allows us within the Forex market to trade and earn money in both directions, all right? And I'll show you why and how in just 1 second. So if we look to our assets, to just finish off this topic, just gold is not a part of the Forex market. If you just invest in gold, you buy a kilo of gold, so to say, right? A kilogram of gold. That's not you investing in the Forex market, you understand? If you trade on gold USD, gold US dollar, then you're trading in the Forex market, all right? If you put your money in an index fund, like US 30 index fund, for example, you're not trading within the Forex market. But if you're trading US 30, I'm gonna have to put this on all. And I'm gonna have to put this on all. If you're trading US 30, here we go, US dollar, now you're trading within the Forex market. And the same goes for cryptocurrency. You're buying yourself some Bitcoin and holding it for a couple of years. Not so much trading within the Forex market, you are just investing in cryptocurrency. But if you're trading on Bitcoin, US dollar, now you are trading within the Forex market. So the main requirement or the main feature, the main, characteristic of the Forex market is that we're trading a balance of 2 assets. Either 2 different currencies within the case of the currency pairs, or the balance between an asset, like a commodity, an index, a cryptocurrency, compared to the US dollar. it's only then that we're trading within the Forex market. If we're trading these assets separately, that is not Forex, all right? Very, 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 very key to understand. Now, before we dive further and we take a look at who is trading within the Forex market, let's actually take a look at how that really works. How does that balance work? And what does that allow us to do, right? Let's take a look at the most basic currency pair out there, right? Euro USD, quite a volatile one, but two of our biggest currencies combined are Euro. Our first biggest are US dollar, and then our second biggest are Euro, all right? Everything's still good with the stream. You guys still up here? Amazing. We're going really in depth here, all right? I told you guys I was going to give you everything from scratch. Today is a really in-depth session, but it's going to be really, really good. Not every day is going to be this long, but I have a lot of value to share. And I wanted to have the history and the basic concepts all into one session. So let's continue. The balance, right? This number we find here in the down right corner of our trading view, and the number you see anywhere when you're looking to a currency pair is what we can call the currency conversion rate, right? The exchange rate of that specific currency pair. So in this case, the exchange rate for Euro USD is 0.99783. This is also a very interesting question to ask yourself. As I mentioned earlier when we were talking about money, a lot of beginning traders have no idea what they're trading. They do not know anything about the history of money. They have no background information whatsoever, but they do expect great results, right? So that's why I gave you the information. Again, I'm going to ask this question. How many of you know what this actually stands for, right? The average individual is going to answer that question with, well, Nick, this means that Euro USD is 0.99782, right? But what exactly in this case is 0.99787 in this case, right? That's changing. That's the value of what? The value of Euro USD. All right, but what does that mean? Is it then the value of Euro? Is Euro 0.99? Or is it the value of dollar? Is it the value of a banana? What is it the value of really, right? At this point, it can be anything, right? A lot of us don't know it. This is such basic knowledge, guys, and this is what I was saying, right? Education is the foundation. I'm sure there are going to be people that are watching this that do not know this, which is fine. That's why you're here. I'm here to help, right? The value of what we see is the exchange rate, as I mentioned before, right? We have two different currencies, right? In the case of currency pairs. The first currency is what is commonly called the base currency. That's the first one. And the second currency is what is commonly called the quote currency. We have in total about, let's look at currency pairs. Why am I going to dive in and focus on currency pairs and not talk further about commodities, indices, and cryptocurrency? Because for me, I have personally focused and professionalized into currency pairs for the past 5 years almost, trading and investing myself within the Forex market. So that's reason one. And reason two, before we continue further, you might think like, why is he constantly talking about currency pairs? Because reason two, in my personal opinion, currency pairs are the best asset to start with. So out of the four we talked about, currency pairs for me are the best asset to be starting with if you want to learn how to trade within the Forex market. Because it's the least volatile, right? And it's the easiest, it respects the technical analysis the best due to being less volatile as well, right? So it's easier to technically trade upon currency pairs, in my opinion, than on a lot of different, on these other three assets, which are much higher in volatility. On top of this, it doesn't require a big account size, and it's really, really accessible no matter where you are, which broker you have, or whatever it is, right? So that's where we're going to be continue to focus on currency pairs. We have 28 of them, as I mentioned earlier, right? I'm going to teach you tomorrow in day 2 how to, make a nice list and all of this. But we have 28 of them with the main and the main currency pairs, the major currency pairs being all of the currency pairs who are linked with USD, like Euro USD or AUD USD, and then our minor pairs being our currencies which are do not hold our USD, like GBP NZD or like our Euro NZD. Everything that does not have USD combined with it, those are our minor pairs. Exotic pairs, again, currencies like Mexican pesos who are less stable, more volatile. We are not going to look to exotic currencies in the rest of this Forex Basic Bootcamp. We're just going to be focusing and using examples out of major currencies and minor currencies. So, that being said and being put out of the way and clarified, let's continue to look at this. So Euro USD, this is a value of not euro, it is not the value of dollar, it is not the value of a banana, it is the value of Euro USD. That is correct. It is the exchange rate, more accurately, of Euro USD, right? So as I said, when we talk about assets, the main feature and characteristic of the Forex market is that we have a balance between things, right? In this case, the balance is between euro and US dollar. So our first currency is always called our base currency, our second currency, our quote currency, as I said earlier. And I know I'm repeating myself throughout even today, this first part, day 1, but repetition is the key to mastery. So this is why I'm repeating certain things a couple of times, consciously, all right, purposely. How do we read this? We read this as 1 over base currency is the exchange rate of our quote currency. So 1 euro is $0.99794. That is what your value stands for, all right? That is what this means. So if we look to another currency pair, we're having 1 over base currency is the value of our quote currency. So 1 British pound equals 1.70282 Australian dollar. So if we would have 1 pound, we go to the exchange rate right now and we give it, we should get 1.7026 Australian dollar. Minus commissions, of course, right? So that's that. That's what this stands for. How is that powerful? Why is the fact that we have the balance between those two currencies, why is that giving us now an extremely awesome, incredible opportunity? And that is the opportunity to make money in both directions. How does that work? Well, to talk about this, we first need to talk about how we can make money in investing in general. So let's talk this topic, right? How do we make money within the Forex market now, Nick? What's all of this, right? How do we make money within the Forex market? Well, how do we make money within investing in general? Let's say you buy a house, right? There's only 3 possible movements. 3 movements if you invest in something. Let's say you buy a house. What can happen? Either your house increases in value, right? You're happy, smile on the face. Your house stays the same in value. Okay, you're not happy, you're not sad, it's just nothing changed. Or your house decreases in value. In the case of a house, real estate in general, most of the time increases in value, so bad example. But let's say, some things go wrong in your house and, I don't know, some stuff is destroyed. It will decrease in value, right? So this counts for any form of investing you do. Anything you invest in, either it increases in value, it stays the same in value, or it decreases in value. 3 possible movements. In any type of general investments you do, only 1 out of 3 of those movements is going to be good for you, right? Is going to be an outcome you desire, is going to be a desirable outcome. And that is if it increases in value, right? Because if it stays the same, whatever, not really happy. If it goes lower, you're sad, right? That's not good. Now you're losing money. So when it comes to investing, for years upon years upon years upon years upon years, thousands of years trading, people wanted to make more money. So they wanted to that whatever they bought increased in money, right? And this is where really quickly I'm going to mention the difference between assets and liabilities. Whatever you buy in this world is either an asset or a liability, right? It's either an investment, which is an asset, or it's a liability. It's just something you buy because you want to use it. A phone is a liability because you're never going to sell it for the same amount of value. It depreciates in value over time, right? So a liability is something that, is not generating you money, or even worse, is taking money out of your pocket every single month. A car, for example, you buy and you drive around with is a liability because you need to pay taxes, you need to pay fuel, you need to pay reparations, you need to pay, maintenance, all of that stuff. That's a liability, all right? An asset is something you buy and invest in which generates a stream of income for you. For example, you invest in a real estate property, you rent out that real estate property to someone else. Now the person that is renting your real estate property is paying you money every single month. And that is what an asset is, all right? Really interesting difference between assets and liabilities. And a couple of other really interesting basic concepts are explained within the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad of Robert Kiyosaki. If you didn't heard from it yet, really good starter, really fresh, easy to understand book that gives you a couple of tips and tricks and basic economic concepts, all right? Anyway, so normally, whichever investment we do, if we do invest in an asset, we only are happy if it increases in value, right? If it decreases or stays the same, not happy. The unique thing, and this was for thousands of years, right? The incredible thing about the Forex market is that for the first time in history with the Forex market, or one of the first times, I say, the unique thing is that we can make money in two directions. Not only can we make money when market is increasing, but we can make money very easily and without any difficulties, and that is for a first, within any financial market, when it decreases in value as well. And that is because of that main characteristic that we're trading on a balance between things, all right? So I can show you this real quick and real easy. Let's take this GBP AUD here, for example, right? And let's just draw something out here. Actually, I'm gonna take a different example for you guys, so it's gonna be easier to observe here. Let's say, let's go to a bigger time frame. I'm gonna show you it on a bigger time frame, so it will be easier for you guys to see. Let's say here, right? We're looking at this here. First possible movement, and let me change this and put this on a line. I'll explain candles probably tomorrow and the rest of TradingView, or maybe today, I'll see. We're going pretty long in time here, so maybe I will keep this for tomorrow. So let's look at this at a line. So this line is basically the representation of your value of your exchange rate that changes, right? So it's just a line, very easy. If your graph goes up, right, we have obviously an increase in the value of pound Australian dollar, right? So that is very easy. Now we are making money, right? But what I'm telling you is that if we have a decrease, right, to that same point right here, we can also make money, all right? Isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy? Let me put that in yellow so it's clear for you guys what I drew and what the line graph is, what the price graph is. So within a Forex market, we can be making money when the market is going up, and we can be making money when the market is going down. All right. I'll give you a very easy number example for this to show you how that works. And again, the reason for this is because we're trading the balance on things. Let's say at this point, the value is not 1.73695, but the value is 1.00000, right? What does that mean? That means, right, that we just learned this. One of the base currencies, so 1 GBP equals the value of the quote currency. So the value in this case is 1, so 1.00000, right? AUD in this case, because we're trading on GBP AUD, right? Let's say market goes up and it doesn't go to 1.77861, but it goes to, let me write it out here, it goes to 2.00000, right? Let's just say, for simplicity's sake, all right? It didn't, but let's just use that number as an example. What does that mean? Well, one of our base currencies, so £1, equals the value of our quote currency, so 2.00000 Australian dollar, right? So how can we make money when the market goes up? Well, very easily. We exchange, right? We exchange 1 Australian dollar for 1 pound. Market goes up and 1 pound gets exchanged for 2 Australian dollar. We started with 1 Australian dollar. We end up with 2 Australian dollars. So we doubled our investment in this case, right? This is not a realistic scenario whatsoever within the Forex market. You're not going to do not expect to just double your investments like this. This is purely out of educational perspective and purposes to show you how we can make money in both directions, all right? So this is just a numbers example. So that's easy when market goes up. But Nick, now you told me we can make money when market goes down. How does that work? Well, let's say it comes back, right? So it comes back to the same level. This is still the same level as right here. So I'm obviously not going to say this is different. It's the same exact price point. Well, if we looked at that highest price point, right, 2.000, we can write this also differently. If 1 pound is 2.0000 Australian dollar, well then 2.00000 Australian dollar is 1 pound, correct? That's literally the same. Which means that 1.00000 Australian dollar is half a pound, right? That makes sense, right? Let me put that a little bit here, right? Now, if we go down, we're at the same value where we learned, okay, it's 1.00000, which means 1 pound is 1 Australian dollar, right? We can also write that as 1.00000 Australian dollar. So 1 Australian dollar is 1 pound, right? So in the upwards movement, we exchange 1 Australian dollar for 1 pound, and then 1 pound gets exchanged for 2 Australian dollars. So we made money. In the downwards movement, we can exchange 1 Australian dollar for, sorry, wrong me. We can exchange half a pound for 1 Australian dollar, and the market goes down, and that 1 Australian dollar is exchanged for 1 pound. So now we started with half a pound, and we end with 1 pound. We also doubled our investment, all right? So here 1 AUD in 1 GBP and 1 GBP in 2 AUD, so we increased. And here half a GBP in 1 AUD and 1 AUD in 1 GBP, so we doubled it as well. So this is how we can make money in both directions within the Forex market, which is one of the most unique features of this Forex market. And this counts for all the assets that I mentioned before. So this is applicable both to the currency pairs, to the commodities, to the indices, and to the cryptocurrency, as long as they are coupled with the US dollar, because you need that balance between the two, right? Again, if you just buy a kilogram of gold, and gold goes lower in value, you did not earn any money. You lost money, all right? But if you're trading on gold dollar, you can be earning money when the market goes to the downside. How do we do this practically? Well, there's two different terms which we use, and that is buy and sell within the Forex market, and this is very easy to understand. If you go for a buy, that means you are saying, I think market is going to go up, all right? If you go for a sell, that means you say, I think market is going to go down. As you understand from this example, when you do sell, it's not that something is sold, because to sell something, you need to buy it first, right? So either way, if you press buy or sell, something is bought and sold, but that might become confusing for you. So what I need you to remember is the following. If you press buy, that means you say, I think market will go up. If market goes up, you earn money, you are profitable. If market goes down after you say, I think market will go up, you're wrong and you're losing money, all right? If you press sell, that's the opposite. You say, I think market will go down. If that market goes down, you're earning money. But if market would go up, it is doing the opposite of what you're saying. You are losing money, right? So very easy. If you're right and you're predicting the direction of the market, you're earning money. If you are wrong and market is going into the opposite direction as you predicted, so let's say you do buy but market goes down, or you do sell or market goes up, you're losing money. And if you're right, again, if you do buy and market goes up, or sell and market goes down, you are earning money, all right? How can we predict then, Nick, which direction the market is going to go to? That's what we will be talking about during day 3 when we talk about technical analysis, fundamental analysis, and how to actually analyze the market to be able to understand which direction market is going to go to. All right. We have a couple of more things which I could or would want to talk about, but it might bring us a little bit too far. Like, for example, bid ask, order books, price formation, and stuff like this. I'm gonna leave this for another day. A couple of things I do still want to cover is the following. We now know what is traded within the Forex market, right? We now know what is traded within the Forex market, but who is trading within the Forex market? Who is actually participating within this Forex market that we now describe, and that we now know where we can actually make money to both directions, right? Well, there's 4 big major market participants. A couple of more things to cover actually, so pretty intense and long session, but I'm loving it. I'm loving it. I hope you're having value. I hope you're loving it. It's awesome. So, market participants. Who is participating within this Forex market? 4 big market participants. The first one we already talked about are those central banks. All right, we already covered them. Central institutions, like I mentioned before, the European Central Bank or the Federal Reserve, who are in control of determining the monetary policies and who are in control of printing, who have the monopoly and the only right to make more of the currency, right? So to increase the supply of a specific currency. Now, those market participants, they are a very big part. That central bank is a very, very big player within the market. Besides the central bank, though, we have a second kind of bank which comes into the picture, and that is the commercial bank, all right? The commercial bank, one of the most, if not the most important market participant, which has the biggest influence within the market, is the commercial banks or the investment banks. Both of them are kind of at that same point, right? Commercial bank is your bank where you have a savings account, your bank where you have, you know, your credit card, your debit card, and all of that. Commercial banks do interaction and do commerce, right? Commercial commerce with customers like you and I. And they use that money to provide loans to other individuals, to provide credit to individuals or businesses, again. And they also use the money of their clients, of, you know, you and I, of the savings account, as I mentioned before, to reinvest themselves within that Forex market. So you might be surprised of this, but they are the biggest participants within this Forex market. So the most amount of money is coming from the commercial banks, and they are using, guess what, which money? Your money, right? Of all of the savings account of everyone across the entire world. Why are the commercial banks and the investment banks bigger than the central banks, you might ask? Because you can think central banks can just print money. Aren't they bigger? Because the central bank has certain policies they need to follow. They're not allowed to just print money and place a buy on Euro USD, so to say, right? And when it comes to the commercial banks, they are actually investing for themselves, and they are, you know, investing where they see fit with money, which is a huge amount of volume of money. And why is that so much money? Because again, commercial banks are basically all of the money of the people, and the people are literally everyone in the entire world, right? All human beings. So that is almost all of the money in the entire world, which is being accumulated and which is being used by commercial banks and by investment banks to trade within this Forex market. So we got that central bank, we got that commercial bank. Third big market participants, there's actually 5, not 4, 5. I saw that central and commercial bank, you know, it's banks, but there's 5 if we see central, commercial. The third big market participants is what we call multinational corporate companies, all right? Those are big companies which are doing business on an international massive scale, on such a big scale that they actually have influence or can have influence within the Forex market. I'm looking to companies like Coca-Cola that are doing and that are supplying product and that are selling their product all across the globe, right? So as you know, or as you don't know, Coca-Cola is a US-based company, which means that, obviously they need to pay their taxes and they need to create the revenue in US dollars. I was just checking stream there real quick. But they're supplying to, for example, Europe. So if they sell their Coca-Cola product to Europe, all of the European countries and companies there, they're paying in euros, right? That huge amount of chunk, that huge amount of euro currency that needs to be exchanged into dollars. And those big amount of transactions, they can have an effect within the Forex market. And most of the time, multinational corporates, such big companies, they are going to take the exchange rate into account, and they're going to do those transactions at exchange rates and price levels which are favorable for them. All right. So multinational corporates or third market participants, they're basically trading unintentionally because their business is just on such a big scale. Fourth big market participants within the Forex market are fund managers. All right. And fund managers can be a lot of things. We're talking about hedge fund brokers here, hedge fund manager brokers, right? We're talking about investment managers in general. We're talking about pooled funds. We're talking about portfolio managers. We're talking about, Forex brokers as well. Any type of fund managers. I'm gonna take all of them together. What they do is they manage funds. Guess what? What's in the name again, right? Fund manager. They manage funds of someone else. This can be of an individual with a high amount of capital, or this can be of an organization or a company, right? They're going to manage these funds and they're going to invest these funds for that specific individual or organization or company, and they're going to try to create a profit percentage or margin out of that, right? After this, the fund managers get a commission on the profit which is generated, and the profit is being paid out to the participant or the organization or the company that supplied the capital in the first place, right? So this is what fund managers do. They're very active traders. They're a very, very big player within the Forex market. And they're very, very, very important to be aware of, all right? So commercial banks, central banks, multinational corporates, hedge fund brokers and just fund managers in general. And then the fifth market participant, the smallest of all of them, you and me, retail traders. All right, we are the small fish. I like to compare it like this. I like to say it always like this. Your central bank, commercial bank, your fund managers, your multinational corporates, they're like big whales, They have the amount of capital needed to move the market. They influence the market. They literally move the market, right? That's how big they are. And again, remember, 6.6 trillion volume daily, and they have the capital to do so. So that's a lot of money necessary there to do that, right? They're big. Imagine they're like big whales. 2 whales on your left, central commercial, 2 whales on your right, multinational corporates and fund managers. We are not even a small fish. We are like a little microbe, like, plankton, like this little microbe who's like not even swimming, just floating within the water. That's what we are. That's how you can kind of compare it. And probably that's even still putting it better than it is. We do not have any influence, all right? Retail traders are people like you and me who are investing with their own capital, right? Which is very, very important, with their own capital. All of the 4 other mentioned participants are not investing with their own capital. We are investing with our own capital. We are trading and we're placing investments however we see fit and however we want to. And we do not have any influence whatsoever. A lot of you guys might come with the question of like, but isn't the amount of retail traders growing, Nick, in the world? Yes, it is. There are more and more retail traders, but their influence is not growing. So the amount of percentage we make out as, participants within the Forex market is growing, but our influence is not growing, all right? It's not. Because the simple reason, all of us are doing individual things. It's not that all retail traders in the entire world are putting all of their capital together and they're all placing the same trade at the same time, right? Even then, most likely, we couldn't compete with My apologies. We couldn't compete with the other market participants, but this is kind of what they are doing. They have that big amount of capital and they're working structurally and organized, right? And with us, all retail traders are just doing whatever we want, right? I want to show you something real quick. Forex market participants. Before we dive into the next topic, Forex market participants. If you just simply type this in, there is a Wikipedia page here, foreign exchange market. Here we go. If you just go to the Wikipedia page for foreign exchange market, you're gonna find what I'm going to show you right now. If you scroll down here a little bit, you're going to see the market share of the top 10 participants within the Forex market, all right? This was done in 2020, so about 2 years ago. And what we're going to see is JP Morgan, UBS, XTX Markets, Deutsche Bank, right? Citi, HSBC, Jump Trading, Goldman Sachs, really important there. State Street Corporation, Bank of America. What do we see here? We see commercial banks, we see investment banks, and we see fund managers, all right? And if we count that together, you can see 10%, 8%. Let's say that's like 20, right? Let's say that's 30, 40. Let's say these two, 50, 60. Let's say like 65 to 70% of the market share is being taken by only the top 10 Forex currency traders within the market. 70%. So if you would go top 20, that would be probably almost the whole market share, right? So remember this. We do not have any influence, all right? I cannot show it any more clearly than this. These big market participants, they are the whales. They move the market, all right? We don't. So your takeaway from this is go with them. Go with the flow. Go with the trend, all right? Because the trend is your friend. If you have those whales, you're not going to try to swim against them. Go with the stream, all right? More about trends and how to identify trends on our session day 3 of the Forex Bootcamp. We're going to be talking about analysis, all right? This is a really in-depth bootcamp. I told you I was going to do a really in-depth practical bootcamp. I'm literally covering everything, all right? Us as retail traders, how do we have access to the Forex market though? Let me switch here. If we want to trade, then how does that happen? How do we have access to that? Well, we need some kind of middleman to actually access that Forex market, to be able to place our trades and place our buys and our sells, as I just explained here, upon the market. And that middleman is what we call a broker, right? A Forex broker, one of the type of the fund managers. A difference between a hedge fund broker firm, for example, is a hedge fund broker firm is going to have less clients, but bigger amount of capital per client. And a Forex broker in general is going to have a lot more clients, right? People like you and me, and those clients are going to have less capital. So your broker is kind of your middleman to give you access to that Forex market. It's with your broker that you're going to be able to open an account, deposit a certain amount of capital, and then be trading within the Forex market. And another really important thing that we're going to be needed besides a broker is a trading platform, right? And which trading platform to use, we're going to be talking all, and my recommendations on how to use it, we're going to be talking all about tomorrow in day 2. But trading platform is basically a software, right? It's basically a software where it's a software where we're going to be able to analyze. We're going to be able to analyze everything. I'm checking something real quick here that I'm not overlooking it. It's a software where we're going to be able to analyze, do our analysis, basically our technical analysis, and we're also able to place our trades. So trading software is really what it is about. All right, just checking here real quick, guys, that I'm so trading platform is basically software. Just checking here real quick that I'm not skipping out on anything. I'm having some technical difficulties. Give me a second here. Dang it. Give me 1 second. because it's a lot to be sharing. So I'm trying to do it in a structured manner as possible. All right. So yes, this is where we left off. So now we covered the participants, we covered the broker, we covered the trading platform, which is software, you know. Again, more about that software and how to use TradingView and how to use MetaTrader 4 tomorrow on the day 2 of our Forex bootcamp. All right. Couple of things we didn't talk about yet. Couple of more things. This is a very, very long session, but it's fine for me. We're probably going to have a 3-hour long part 1 here, but that's cool for me, right? Something really important we didn't talk about just yet. We talked about what is traded on the Forex market, right? We talked about our market participants, right? We talked about how can we actually be earning money within that Forex market. What we didn't talk about yet is when can we actually trade within that Forex market, right? So we understand how to make money now, that we can make money up and down. We understand who is participating within this market. We understand what is actually being traded within this market. But we do not know just yet when can we actually be trading this market. Well, the Forex market is open 24/5, all right? So it's open 5 days a week from Monday to Friday, and it's closed on the weekend, with the exception of the cryptocurrency. So Bitcoin USD, for example, is possible to be traded over the weekend. So the cryptocurrency class asset within the Forex market that we covered before is tradable over the weekend. Commodities, indices, and cryptocurrencies are not being able to be traded over the weekend. Timing within investment is of utmost importance. So I know a lot of you are already paying attention for a while. If you're watching this session, you know, maybe you're gonna take a little break and then recap it later on, but I'm just gonna put this all in one because I want all of this information to be together in one session, so you have a really bundle of value and you know, okay, if I watch this session, I know it all, right? Timing is of the utmost importance within trading. I'm gonna be showing you a really, really cool website for this. That has helped me to identify what are the most ideal times for me to be trading. So timing, one of the most utmost key elements within trading. Price and time is literally what our financial markets consist of, right? So 24/5, 5 days a week open, 24 hours a day, actually 23. It's open 24, but tradable 23 hours a day for 5 days a week. So open Sunday and closes Friday, right? Really, 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 really important to know. We have different sessions. Timing wise, by the way, everything I'm going to be talking about, I'm going to explain in my time zone. So I'm going to be putting this on Central European time, which is Berlin time for me. So that's what I'm going to be putting this on. If you use this website, right, it's forex.timezoneconverter.com. Make sure to put it on your time zone, which is applicable for you. So it's 10:19 in the morning AM. You can see it at my computer. Make sure it is the same, all right? So make sure your time zone is good. Everything within the Forex market is adjustable to the time zone you're in. So timing wise, it doesn't have anything to do with the positions of the stars or the moon or this or that. When your Forex market opens or closes, it doesn't have anything to do with that. In different parts of the world, our trading days are going to be opened and closed in different moments of the day. For some, it's going to be New York session during the day. For some, it's going to be New York session in the morning. For some, it's going to be New York session at night, right? So depending on where you're situated in the world, these times are going to be different. I'm just going to give you some indications based on my time zone, and you just recalculate it for yours, all right? Timing wise, really important, we have 4 major trading sessions, all right? So they put all of the Forex exchange markets, they put them in groups together of when these Forex exchange markets are active, all right? So we have the London session, which is sometimes also called the European session, which holds all of the European Forex exchange markets that are going open and are the most active during the London session. Why did I choose to call it London? Because again, historically, as I explained before, London, one of the main key, if not the center of trade and the birthplace of trading, right? New York session then is the session where all of the United States and US based and that part of the world Forex exchange markets are going open, and where the most activity is done on the Forex exchange markets in that part of the world. Sydney is then everything that is in Australia and in that part of the world, right, in that part of the continent. And then Tokyo is everything that is happening within the Asian continent and within that part of the world, all of the Forex exchange markets that are happening there. So those are our 4 major sessions: our London session, our New York session, our Sydney session, and our Tokyo session. So Australia is also Indonesia and like stuff like this. You know, it's Oceania, or however that is called in English, right? That's what Sydney session is. And then Tokyo is much bigger than just Japan. It's also everything Asia related, right? It's Sydney and Tokyo combined, because it's in that area of the world, is also often called our Asian session, all right? So if you hear people say the Asian session, that is both the Sydney and the Tokyo session combined, all right? Our different sessions open at different hours of the day. And the most amount of volatility, the most amount of liquidity, better to say, the most amount of money, liquidity, is going to be in the market when we have the overlap of 2 sessions, right? So when we have the overlap of the London and the New York session, for example, in my case, that is between 2 p.m. in the afternoon and 5 p.m. in the afternoon. That's where there's going to be the most amount of liquidity, because then now both the Forex exchange market within London and Europe and all of the banks and market participants that are trading there, plus all of the banks and Forex exchange market, the market participants of the New York part of the world, right, the American, they're all active. So everyone's active, right? So the most amount of money is during the overlap of the sessions. A lot of traders say that overlap then also is the moment that the most opportunities are going to come up within the market and is interesting to keep an eye for, right? We also have our overlap of our Asian session and then our London session in the morning. Although it kind of just unites, right? But our Asian session stops and then our London session starts. So when our Asian stops, our London starts. But our Asian session itself is obviously an overlap of our Sydney and our Tokyo session. That was what I was trying to say. So I have the overlap of our London and our New York session, and we have the overlap of the session of the Sydney and the Tokyo, which is our Asian session. It's also 2 hours of teaching here, so kind of, my brain was kind of getting twisted there for a second. So that's the 2 main overlaps. We're gonna immediately cover this 5th session that you see on here, and this is some very rare information that I've never heard anyone teach about. A lot of the topics and information that I've shared today here, actually, I've never heard anywhere on the entire academy. So, my commitment is really to make this the best Forex basic bootcamp that is available within IM Mastery Academy. If you do something, do it very, very well, right? I'm a little bit of a perfectionist. So 5th session there is the Frankfurt session. Now, again, a lot of people don't know this, but as I mentioned, London is not just London, it's whole Europe, right? But within Europe, all of our Forex exchange markets open at the same time as our London exchange market or right after it. So it all opens for me at 9 or at 9:15, 9:30, right, and so on and so on. So we have, for example, the Rotterdam Forex exchange market, we have the Paris Forex exchange market, and so on and so on. Because within Europe, there's different countries, right? And all of these countries have Forex exchange markets, right? They have. The only exception on that rule is Frankfurt. Frankfurt is the only European Forex exchange market which opens before the London Forex exchange market opens, right? 1 hour before. And that is why it is mentioned separately here, because that's very, very unique. That makes it very unique, all right? That makes it that 1 hour before your London, there's already going to be a little bit more of a liquidity within the market, because there's already going to be market participants, in this case from Germany, right, who are going to be active. Germany being a very, very big industrial and very big economical player, that can already create some opportunities within the market. So very interesting to know. By any means is this not as big of a session as the other 4. It doesn't compare, but interesting to point out nonetheless. All right. At the opening of every single one of our sessions, also very important, is you're going to have a boost in volatility for the specific currency that the session entails. So in the opening of our London session, what we're going to see, and I'm going to take a look here at the chart for you guys, is I'm going to keep this. Let me just open another example. At the opening of our London session, what we're going to see is we're going to see a boost in volatility of our London currency, our Great British Pound, right? So I'm going to be opening GBP USD for you guys, and we'll take a look here on the 15-minute time frame at the opening of our London session, 9 a.m., right? Let's just keep it on the line view here. We'll talk about the candles. Actually, we still need to talk about the candles. Let's do it today still. 9 a.m. Let's take a look at this. You see how market's going slower, and at 9 all of a sudden there's a boost in volatility, right? If we want to take a look at the candle view here, we see around 9 there's a boost in volatility to the downside, right? I can show you the day before if you want to. Market is slower, right? And around 8, 9 we see volatility picks up and there's a big boost to the downside when it comes to that London session then actually starting, right? So at the start of every single one of these sessions, we have a big kick in volatility on that specific currency, and the same can be said for the New York session. So at New York, you're gonna have a big boost in volatility of your US dollar, right? For the Sydney session, a little bit of a boost in volatility for your Australian dollar, although less noticeable, and for your Tokyo session, a boost in volatility for your Japanese yen, although again also less notable. Mainly the London session and New York session, I would very much pay attention to the opening times of these sessions, because if a trade that you're in suddenly goes really fast and you don't know why, timing is really important within the investing. So at 9 a.m. at London, you're gonna see that boost in volatility on the GBP, and at 2 p.m. you're gonna see that boost in volatility on the New York. The last interesting time to mention, and then I'll share my favorite times to be trading with you guys, is 1 hour and a half, actually two interesting times to mention still. 1 hour and a half after the opening of the New York, so that's for me 3 p.m., 3:30 p.m., 1 hour and a half, right? 3:30 p.m. We're gonna have the opening of the Wall Street. That is 9:30 a.m. EST. For me, that is 3:30 p.m. Central European time. We're gonna have the opening of Wall Street. So 9:30 a.m. EST. Your New York sessions opens at 8 a.m. Your Wall Street opens at 9:30 a.m. So not only do we have a boost in volatility on our New York Forex exchange market opening, but we also have a boost in volatility for our US dollar and for, a lot of other things when it comes to the opening of Wall Street. Why? Because Wall Street, biggest stock exchange market in the entire world. Very important, and creates a lot of liquidity, which is pushed and which also can and will have an influence on the Forex market. All right. We're going to be talking more about this when it comes to fundamental analysis, but anything that creates a boost in liquidity or volatility on the US dollar will and shall also have an influence on the other currencies. All right. So specifically for your New York opening at 2 p.m. in this case, and for that Wall Street opening 1 hour and a half after your New York opening, right? For my case, that's 3:30 p.m., 9:30 a.m. EST. That's going to have an influence not only on the US dollar, but on all currencies. And why is that? Because we explained the history, right? Right now, we're in the fiat system, and all currencies are compared to the US dollar, and the US dollar is our main reserve currency, all right? So really important to remember. Any volatility that is created within the US dollar, any event, for example, opening of the New York exchange market or Wall Street opening, or a fundamental event, when we talk about fundamental analysis, anything US dollar will also influence the other currencies, all right? So amazing. Last time that is interesting to mention, last timing wise moment of the day is the end of our trading day. So our market opens Sunday, closes Friday evening, right? What in between, Nick? Is it just open 24/7 or what and how? Well, there's 1 hour a day where brokers need to decide when is the trading day, when did it end, right? How do we split up the different days? So they have 1 hour of layover, it is called. 1 hour of swap. 1 hour where the broker is going to do its paperwork. It is going to do its practical tasks and responsibilities that it needs to take. And that's what we call the end of our trading day, all right? And although the market is going to appear to be open, at the end of your trading day, you're going to have that 1 hour of layover where you're incapable, it's impossible to place a new trade, it's impossible to, or a new position, whatever you want to call it, it's impossible to close your trade or position, or it's impossible to modify your trade or position, all right? So you have 1 hour of layover in between your trading days every single day. The end of your trading day is 1 hour after the end of your New York session. So the end of the New York session is at 10 p.m. here. 1 hour after that, for me, that's 11 p.m. That's going to be the end of your trading day. And then you have 1 hour, so from 11 p.m. until 12 p.m. you have that hour of layover where you can't place a trade, you can't close a trade, and you can't modify a trade, all right? So that's what splits up every single day. Let's say you still have a position or a trade open. What your broker is going to do is going to take that position, going to take that trade, is going to swap that into the next trading day. You're going to keep that trade open, all right? Very important to take into account that during that hour of layover, during your broker swapping your position, you're going to have a lot of increased spread, all right? And spread, we're not going to go too deep into this, but spread, to explain this very easily, is the difference between your bid and your ask. And your bid and your ask, you can kind of compare to, if you're having an auction, right? If something is being sold, remember the explanation that I said earlier about supply and demand? Remember that? Well, if something is being sold, imagine they're selling like a painting. You saw this maybe on TV, or maybe you went to an auction yourself where they're like saying like 200, 200, 300, 300, 400, 500, 600, 600, 600, 700, 700, right? This kind of auction. Price is being formed, and I can talk another hour about this, but I'm not gonna. Price is being formed by supply and demand, by bid and ask, right? So we can see we have the bid price here, which is 1.13885, and we have the ask price here, which is 1.13895. Either now the bid price gets filled in, that means someone sells and someone, that someone gets to buy basically, right? Then price is moving down. So the bid is what someone is willing to pay. So if that gets filled in, someone is basically having a sell, right? They sell it to the bidder. If you bid on an auction and it's sold, then, it's sold. So then price moves down. So either the bid is filled in, then price moves down, or the ask is filled in. That means someone is willing to sell, right? They're having an ask price. If the ask is filled in, that means someone bought it. So let's say you're like, I want so much. Well, if that gets filled in, that means someone bought your product, right? So either the bid price is filled in, which means price moves down, or the ask price is filled in, which means price moves up. So to simplify this, if a lot of people are buying, right? If a lot of people are buying, that means constantly the ask price is getting filled in, then price is going to be moving up. So if there's more aggressive buying power than there is selling power within the market, price is going to be moving up, right? Let me switch back to the line graph because we didn't really talk about candles yet. And if there's more selling power, if more people are thinking market is going to go down and are selling, is more aggressive selling power, then price is going to be moving down because more bids are being filled in. Normally that difference between the two, that's what we call the spread, right? So that difference between the two normally is not that big. In this case, it's like 0.7 pip, right? But during that hour of layover, that difference goes really, really, really big, right? That becomes really much bigger. For the simple reason that I just explained you during layover, no one can place a trade, no one can modify a trade, and no one can close a trade. So no bids or asks are getting filled in. You understand? Because for a bid or ask to getting filled in, that means someone needs to buy or sell. but no one can buy or sell because it's hour of layover. So that is the reason why spread goes really, really high. High spread is important because if, let's say, and we didn't talk about stop loss yet, but let's say you have 5 pips spread. Let me show you on the chart. Let's say price is here right now, but we have 5 pips spread. Spread is something you need to count on top of where the price actually is. So it's kind of like a buffer that gets created, all right? And I'll show you spread a little bit more in depth tomorrow when I show you the MetaTrader 4, and I'll show you where you can find that spread, and we'll talk a little bit more in depth about what spread is, how to take into account, and how to anticipate it and how to manage that. But that's what spread is, and that spread is going to go really, really, really higher up during that hour of layover. So that is most important, all right? So timing wise, let's recap this. I know I've been talking about time for a pretty long while. Why? Because time is one of the most important things within investing. What are my preferred times to be trading, right? My preferred times to be trading is starting to trade from as early as I want, basically. So during Asian session, possible to be trading. If you are trading Asian session, really, really big tip I can give you is try to focus on Asian currencies, all right? Because if we're going to be looking to, let's say, Euro USD, I'm going to switch this to candles again. If we look to Euro USD, if we look overnight, right? I'll scroll a little bit back. If we look overnight here at the end of our trading day, what we can see is that price goes much slower, right? And then in the morning again, when London session opens, Euro USD becomes active again. So you see during the day, in my case during the day, right? During London and New York, Euro USD is very active, while during the Asian session, Euro USD is going to be a little more passive and a little bit more slow, right? Why is that? Because during the Asian session, there are no big market participants for the euro or for the US dollar that are at that moment active. And again, we can see this overnight here, slower. It's not that there's no movement, but slower, up until again the morning London kicks in, and then we have big movements, right? So I can highly recommend that you focus on trading the currencies which are active during the session you're trading. So if you do want to be trading that Asian session, for example, I would advise go look to currencies like Australian dollar, New Zealand dollar, Japanese yen. Those are really interesting, and any pairs that are formed with them, right? So any pairs that are formed with those 3 currencies. Because if we look to, for example, AUD GPY, we can see, look, it's getting to the end of the trading day. It's getting to the end of the trading day here at 11. We have that layover hour for me from 11 until 12. But what do we see? We see big, strong, healthy trending movements here to the downside, right? The whole night. So we can see AUD GPY just stays active. The other way around, the logic doesn't count, so you can still trade AUD GPY during London and New York. So during London and New York, you can trade whatever currency you want, just specifically during the Asian session, because that is going to be a session where, you know, things are getting a little bit more quiet. If you want some action, I would highly recommend you focus on the Asian currencies. So anyway, main ideal times for me to be trading is Asian session. I can trade from as early as I'm up, right? Then ATM for sure, really interesting timing with that Frankfurt, already some liquidity and setups that might be setting up, opportunities that might be setting up. Then London session, I just trade that, right? I use that volatility boost. That is no problem for me whatsoever. And I will be trading up until, let's say, 1 p.m., 1 hour before the opening of the New York session. Up until then, I will be trading 1 hour before that. Why 1 hour before that? For a couple of reasons. That New York opening creates a huge boost in volatility, as I said, a huge boost in liquidity. And that creates a lot of manipulation as well. There's a lot of market participants that enter the market around that time. You're going to have a lot of fake outs. You're going to have price doing really weird things around that time. Not only that, but we're going to have a lot of news events the whole time. A lot of news events on the US dollar. Now, liquidity on the US dollar and news events on the US dollar, as I just said a couple of minutes ago, is going to influence not only the US dollar, but all currencies, since this is the main reserve currency, right? So for me, starting from 1 hour before the opening of the New York session, then I'm not trading the New York session. I'm staying away from the Wall Street opening as well. So at 3:30, that is the Wall Street opening. So for me, between 1 and 4 for a 3-hour time span, I am off the market just to avoid all of that manipulation, high liquidity, high volatility, and unpredictability that time of the day brings, right? That's my personal preference. You don't need to follow that, but that's my personal preference. And then I start trading again from 4 p.m. in the afternoon for me, 3 hours later, right? Up until, let's say, 9 p.m. in the evening. Why 9 p.m.? Because at 10 p.m. the New York session closes, and at 11 p.m. my trading day closes. So at the latest at 9, if I still see an opportunity, I'm allowed to take it. After 9, I'm simply not taking any trade anymore, because you do not have enough time anymore for your setup or for your trade to let it run, unless you're planning to have your trade running overnight. But at the end of the trading day as well, liquidity and volatility is lower, so you're going to have a more difficult time for your trade to move into the right direction smoothly, since again, it's just less market participants there, less liquidity within the market, so things are going to go slower and slower and slower the later it gets on the trading day. All right, me personally, I do not let my trades run overnight. I want to avoid that increased spread, which I explained earlier during that layover. I want to avoid having, not being able to manage my trade during that layover, because you can't close it, you can't open a new trade, you can't manage it, so you can't modify it. So I want to avoid that. And third reason why I do not hold my trades overnight is I want to make my life simple, right? I do not want to have more stress in my life than I had before. I simply don't want it. For me, Forex is to make my life easy. I do not want to, who had this before, that you have your trade running overnight, then suddenly in the middle of the night you wake up to check your phone how your trade is doing. I don't think that's healthy. That makes you very, very emotional within your investments. And I think it's very important to be able to get some good rest and fully let go of the trades you have placed. And the only way to do it is to know in the back of your mind and in your head that all of your trade positions are closed. So for me, those are three reasons that I do not stay in trades overnight. Of course, if you're more of a swing trader, because I'm more of a scalper, that is something you can opt for, right? So that's timing wise, all the most important information. Depending on which type of personality you are, and I already touched upon it a second ago, I mentioned scalping, swing trading, right? Depending on which type of personality you are, you're going to stay longer or less long in your positions or in your trades, right? If you're more like me, if you do not want to stay in trades for too long, if you do not want to be stressed for too long, if you want your result to be very fast, you want to know if it's TP or stop loss in a matter of 1 hour or in a matter of 30 minutes, then you're a scalper, right? If you do not feel comfortable holding your trades overnight, for example, like I really get stressed, I can't sleep good if I have a trade overnight, then you are a scalper. Scalping means short-term trading. It means you're placing trades which are closed in a very short amount of time, right? Swing trading is then the opposite. That is for people that are comfortable, that like just placing a trade and not looking at it anymore and leaving it running for days on end. Those are more long-term investment and more long-term traders. That's what we call swing trading. And then intraday trading is somewhere in between for someone that would just hold the trade for 1 day or maybe 2, and that's about it. So that is the 3 types of, we call that trading styles: scalping, intraday trading, and swing trading. All right. So now we know what is traded, we know who trades it, we know the history of the Forex market, we know the history of money, we know what is actually, the value that is being said here, we know how we can make money in 2 sides. We know so much by now. We know what is the ideal, the timing to be trading, we know the different trading styles, right? We know pretty much everything we should know. Except a couple of small other details, which I'm gonna get into right now, right? We're gonna finish this with making it very, very practical. We're gonna talk still about candles. How do candles work? I'm gonna be showing you pip and how to measure pips, and I'll show you lot sizes to end this with, to end this session with. All right, and that will be it. All right, so. First and foremost, we're going to change how we read this chart. Instead of looking at it as a line graph, let's go a little bit more in depth and let's look at candles. All right, so this is what you're going to be seeing if you open any graph, or if you see any trader trading. You're not going to see them trading with a line graph, you're going to see them trading with a candle. So let's go back to this line for a second. You have different ways of representing your price here. I'm going to show all of them and explain what is what tomorrow during day 2, during the trading view tutorial. But let's take the line here. The line is a very easy one to understand, right? We have our x-axis right here, which represents time. So the more we go to the right side, the more time passes by. And we have our y-axis right here, which symbolizes our value, right? And we go to AUD USD to not take a GPY, to not confuse you guys. So if the line goes down, that means the value goes down, which means the exchange rate is going lower. If the line goes up, that means the value is going up, which means the exchange rate is increasing. Very important to know again is that balance that we talked about earlier, right? That means that one of the currencies is always getting stronger and one of the currencies is getting weaker. So if the value of AUD USD increases, if our line graph goes up, right? We can see the graph is going up. That means Australian dollar is increasing its strength, and it means US dollar at the same time is decreasing its strength, right? Remember this example, this is why we can make money to the upside. In this case, we exchanged our GBP, 1 AUD for our GBP, right? It goes up. So our GBP becomes stronger because where 1 GBP used to be only 1 Australian dollar, now 1 pound is 2 Australian dollar. So our Australian dollar becomes weaker because where 1 Australian dollar used to be 1 pound, now 1 Australian dollar is only half a pound, right? So you can see our pound becomes stronger and Australian dollar becomes weaker. And the other way around, in this case, our pound becomes weaker because where 1 pound used to be 2 Australian dollar, now 1 pound is only 1 Australian dollar. And our Australian dollar becomes stronger because where 1 Australian dollar used to be only a half a pound, now 1 Australian dollar is 1 pound, right? So we can see if market goes up, right? Our first currency, our base currency is increasing, and if our market goes down, and our quote currency is decreasing, so Australian dollar is increasing, US dollar is decreasing in this example, and if market goes down, our base currency is decreasing in strength, and our quote currency is increasing in strength. So in this case, our Australian dollar becomes weaker, and our US dollar becomes stronger, right? So that's how that works. Now, this is simply a line graph. So this is simply connecting the values from which was the exchange rate at specific points in time, right? So at 8:45, exchange rate was here, then here, then here, then here. This doesn't really give us a lot of value. So what did they evolve into? They evolved into candles. And to explain this, I'll show you bars first. Now, what are bars? Very easy. Look, bars give us a little bit more information, right? And bars are looking the original colors, green and red. Now, I don't like colors, so with my candles, you're going to see it's black and white. I'll explain tomorrow why, because colors trigger certain psychology. But let's look at the bars for a second. What is the difference between bars and a graph? Well, with the bar, we have a vertical line and 2 horizontal lines, with each bar, right? The horizontal line on the left of the bar is where price opened, all right? What the price level was at the start of that specific time period. So we're looking here on the 15-minute time frame, which means this represents the price action during 15 minutes. So at the start of that time, so at 10 o'clock precise, price was here. That's what the left horizontal line means, right? The right horizontal line means where the price was at the end of that specific time period. So at 10:15, right, price ended being here. And where the price ends at 10:15, obviously at the new candle then at 10:15, price starts, right? So the end of one is the start of the other. This is why you can see these bars are connected. That makes sense, right? If the ending price of a 15-minute time frame, 15-minute time period from 10 to 10:15 at the end is here, well then at the start of 10:15 up until 10:30, the price is at that same point, right? Now, if the price is after the specific time period higher than it opened, so if price closes higher than it opened, we have an increase of value during that specific time frame, during that specific time period. So we see it is bullish, it is an upwards candle, right? It is a green candle in this case. And if that's when the horizontal line is on the right side is higher than the left side, right? It closed higher than it opened. And if the price closes lower than it opened, if the horizontal line on the right side is lower than the horizontal on the left side, it means we have a decrease in value over that specific time period, and hence the candle is colored red, what we also call a bearish candle, right? Or a downwards candle. Now, we don't look at this like this, we actually look at it like candles. And a very easy way to explain you candles, candle is literally the exact same thing, but just discolored in, all right? So I'm gonna show this to you real quick. Let me put this good here. Let me put this extension off. So if we just simply color, right? If we color in between the left horizontal line and the right horizontal line right here, and we color that in, that is what a candle is, all right? So if I'm gonna switch here to candle, you're going to see that is exactly correct, and that is the candle. So the colored in part is basically just the you know what is colored in from the opening of the price to the closure of the price, from the horizontal line on the left to the right of the horizontal line on the right, where price opened up until where price closed. That's what is colored in when we look to the candle representation of price, and that's what is called the body of the candle. Why did they call this candles? Because it looks like, guess what, a candle, right, which you light. So this is what is called the body. So how can we read this candle? When we look to a bullish candle, a green one, in my case this looks red, right? White, lol. So if we look to a green candle, a bullish candle, which in my case looks white, right? We're going to see that the opening of price is at the bottom and the closing of the price is at the top, right? When we look to a bearish candle or a red candle, in my case this is black, the opening of the price is at the top and the closure is at the bottom. Remember, if you ever get confused, you can simply switch to bars and you can see opening, closure. All right, this is indeed a bearish candle, so opening is here and closure is here. So you have opening here, closure here, opening here, closure here, opening here, closure here, opening here, closure here. So you can see again, the closure of every candle is the opening of the next one. Besides the body, which is the colored in part of the candle, we have these lines, the vertical line, which we could already see at the bar representation, the bars representation, and that is the wick, all right? That is the wick. Now the wick represents the maximum point that price went to and the minimum point that price went to during that specific time period. So between 10 to 10:15 in this case, because we're looking at the 15-minute time frame, the minimum point that price reached was right here. The maximum point that price reached was right here. At 10 exactly, price opened here, and at 10:15 at the closure of this candle, price ended here. So it's kind of like you would walk in the snow and you walk on a line, right? And you walk for 15 minutes straight, or in this case 15 minutes, right? And after 15 minutes someone says stop, and you put a plank, like a wooden plank, from where you started walking to where you stopped walking, right? What you're going to see is that beyond the plank, you're going to have before it and after it, you're going to see your footsteps in the snow, right? It's kind of like this, the maximum and the minimum point price reached during that specific price time period. This is how we reach candles, all right? This is how we read candles. Now, why is that very important? Because this is the most common used view of how to read a graph. Last but not least, if we go back to how we can make money, we understand this, but the issue with this still is, and I'm going to switch here as well to candles now, the issue with this is how much money do we actually make, right? How can we know how much money we are making? And the answer to that is that, well, the more market moves in your direction, right, the more money you're going to be making. So if you say market will go up for a buy and you do this, or you say market will go up and market goes like this, you're going to be earning more than you would have taken if market just moved this movement. Or if you say market will move to the upside and it does this amount of move, you will earn even more, right? So the more market moves in the direction that you predicted, the more you are going to earn, which means that now we need some type of measurement within the market, right? And that's what we call a pip. So pip is basically a unit of measure to calculate the exchange rate between two currency pairs. It's like you measure a table in centimeters or in feet or whatever you call it in the US, right? I'm sorry, not to want to be disrespectful, but I'm not up to date too much about the metric system right there. It still confuses me. But anyway, if you measure a table and you say this is a certain amount of centimeters, right? This is a certain amount of whatever you want to put it. Well, that's the same now, but in the market we don't call it centimeters or millimeters or meters or whatever, right? We call it pips, all right? We call it pips. So pip is a unit of measure to calculate the exchange rate between two currencies. And they needed to define from where they would start calculating the pip. And it's very easy to remember. On normal currency pairs, the pip is the fourth number after the decimal, right? And with Japanese yen currency pairs, the pip is the second number. Why did not the fourth? Because there's not a fourth number here. So very easy with Japanese yen pairs is the second number. There's a visual indicator for this on TradingView. You can see that the last number is a little bit smaller and it's floating both with the normal currency pairs and with the JPY currency pairs, right? So that is not the pip, that is the pipette, all right? So the number after the pip is what we call the pipette, right? And then before that, that's the pip. So the pip is not the last one, but the one before, all right? So not the last, but the one before. In this case, the second, and in this case, the fourth number. That's what we call the pip. And the last one is what we call the pipette. But pipette is a term that is not so commonly used, all right? How do we measure pips? How do we measure pips? Well, let's take a look at, we were at GBP AUD, were we? Let's take a look at our GBP AUD example once again, right? Where we were just looking at a second ago, which is apparently gone. Did we have an example here on? Yes, we had, but on a different time frame. Here we go. Sorry, I switched it. So let's go back to our example here. All right, I lost it for a second. So let's go back to our example here. How do we measure pips now? Well, very easy. If you would need to measure a certain amount of distance between places, right? If you need to measure a table, right? What do? You say, for example, all right, I know the beginning of the table is 0, and I measure, I see the end is 10, all right? Then I know that's 10, let's say, centimeters, right? But let's say you want to measure a part in between. Well, what do then? You check, you see, okay, let's say you want to put like a vase in the middle. How do you measure what is the middle, right? Well, you see, okay, from let's say 4 until 6, that is 2 centimeters in total, right? So I have 2 centimeters space there to place a vase, and now that is going to be in the middle from 4 to 6, because I have 4 centimeters before, 4 after. Maybe I'm confusing you with this, but what I'm trying to say is, if you need to measure a certain distance between things, you just do them minus each other, right? So if you would want to manually calculate what the amount of pips is from here to here, what we're simply going to do is we're going to take our calculator, right? You just take a calculator, you look, what is the price level here? 1.177, sorry, 1.77, not 1.1, 1.77861. And you do that minus the other level you want to check the distance from, right? Minus 1.73695, right? And now we come this, and this is where we're going to be able to read the amount of pips. Now what do we know? Not the last number is the pip, but the one before, the fourth number, right? So this is 416.6 pips, 416.6 pips, right? So this is a total amount of 416.6 pips. If we go for a buy, that's 416.6 pips up or 416.6 pips down, right? If you don't want to do that manually, like I just showed you by calculating it, there's a little tool on TradingView, which is right here. So you just click on that measurement tool. It looks like a little bit like a measurement, you know. You click from the point you want to measure. you click one more time to the point you want to measure, right? It's going to be right here, and we come around the same. I might have misclicked a little bit, but 400, what was it there? The same 416, I think we came out 0.6, might have misclicked here a millimeter, you know, but the same result we come out here. If you measure to the downside, you're gonna see that the tool is gonna show you red, right? That does not mean it's negative. It means that you're measuring to the downside, all right? So that just simply means that if you're now going for a sell, obviously a downwards movement is good for you and you're going to end in profit. If you're going for a buy and it's going down, that's obviously not so good for you, all right? So I showed you how to do it manually. I showed you how to do it automatically with that tool. So the more pips we have, the more distance our move makes, the more we can earn. So this is why everyone wants a lot of pips, because the more pips you have, the more amount of money you can earn. Now, the last question we're going to be answering today then is, how much can we earn per pip then, right? Because we know the more pips we have, the more we can earn, but how much do we exactly earn per pip? And this is where lot sizes come in, all right? And this is a little bit of risk management here, which we're gonna touch more upon in day 4 of the bootcamp, yes. But very basically, lot sizes, there's 3 lot size classes, so to say, if you want to say it. There's the micro lot, right? There's the mini lot, and there's the standard lot, right? A micro lot is what we call 0.01, mini is what we call 0.10, and the standard lot is what we have 1.00, all right? The 0.01 lot is represents $10 for every pip. The 0.10 lot represents $1 for every pip, and the standard lot, the 1.00 lot, represents $10 pip. All right. This is a standard that has been chosen. I literally explained you everything in the standard day 1, where it came from and why it is how it is. This is simply something you're going to have to remember, accept, and yeah, it is just a convention which was created a long time ago, right? It's not as simple as this actually. Behind this goes contract sizes and all of this, but I'm not going to get into this because, yeah, it's not necessary to fully understand this. We can talk about margin eventually tomorrow if needed. Margin, leverage, all of this, contract sizes. But for now, let's just talk lot sizes. So those are the 3 classes of lot sizes. We cannot have a smaller lot size than 0.01. It does not exist. There's no smaller lot size than 0.01. You can go as big as you want to. So you can have lot size 10, lot size 100, and so on and so on. And combinations of all of them in between. So for example, you can have 0.01 lot, but you can have 0.02, 0.03, 0.11, 1.16, whatever type of combination you want to make, that is possible, all right? If I would ask you, hey, if I have lot size 7.65, right? How much dollar a pip is that now, right? You would have to, probably your brain, what it's going to do is going to do, and this, it's done up so many times, and this and this. I'm going to teach you a very easy trick to remember how to go from your lot size to your amount of dollars per pip, all right? So from lot to your value per pip, you simply do your lot size times 10. So if we do 0.01 times 10, it's 0.10. If we do 0.10 times 10 is 1. If we do 1 times 10 is 10. So remember this. This is a very easy tip, all right? Your lot size times 10 equals your value per pip, all right? So that is the rule. So if we would have this, we simply do that times 10. Times 10 means we move the decimal 1 place to the right. So that's $76.50 pip, all right? If we have an exercise here, and this is something that I highly recommend that you practice this, right? Practice this for yourself. All of the information I've been telling you today for 3 hours straight. I know it's a lot, but go practice this. This is a lot of info here. Make sure it's really solid and make sure you can do and replicate and tell what I've been telling you as well. This is how you hold on to information, all right? So what is really important, let's say we have an example, all right? Let's do a quick example here. Let's say we do a sell, right? With lot size 8.25, right? And market goes down for 30 pips, all right? The question is, how much profit or loss do we have, right? And now you're thinking, oh my God, Nick, it's like I'm back in school. But education, right? This is cool. Open your eyes. This is literally what this is, right? Education is the foundation, guys and girls. And this sounds maybe so easy and so basic, but you're not going to believe how many Forex traders are not even capable of calculating pips out of the top of their head. If I ask you if you need to place stop loss, for example, 20 pips lower of the level 1.77861, what level would you need to place your stop loss? The average trader cannot answer this question. Why do you think some people are not winning? Because they do not even understand the basics, all right? It all builds on there, guys. It all builds on there. This is why this bootcamp is going to be so powerful, and I hope it's going to be used for a very, very, very long time. So let's get back to our example here. How much profit or loss do we have? Well, do we have profit or do we have loss? We did a sell. We discovered sell means we say we think market will go down. Did the market go down? It did go down. So we have profit, right? That's first answer. That's the first part of your answer, right? We have profit. All right. We have a lot size of 8.25, right? Lot size. Now we just learned this little trick. Lot size times 10. So times 10 is our value per pip. So that means we have $82.50 per pip, right? And the last step in this question, in this process, and this is what you're going to be doing every day as well, is obviously, all right, how many pips do we have now? Because $82.50 per pip in this case means that every pip that it moves, we have $82.50 profit or loss, right? If it moves a pip against us, loss. If it moves for us, profit. So in this case, we had 30 pips into our direction. So that would make 82.50 times 30, right? So $82.50 pip. Whoops, a little typo there. Dollar a pip times 30 pips. And that equals, ain't gonna lie, I do need a calculator for that. You don't need to be smart, by the way, for these type of things. Just use a calculator, right? 82.50 times 30. There we go. That would be a beautiful 2,475, right? Dollars profit in this case. This does not guarantee future results, all right? I'm just educating you guys here. But this is how lot sizes and this is how pips work. All right? We're going to be slowly rounding it off here because this was a really intense session. We covered a lot analysis and the types of analysis with technical analysis, fundamental analysis, and sentimental analysis. We're going to be talking about on day 3, all right? I want to be showing you market gaps as well and a little bit more about price action and very specific things we're able to see within the price and on our graphs. But I will also talk about this when we're doing the top-down analysis and when we're actually looking more in depth to our graph. Otherwise, it's going to be too much. I really wanted this session to be, I wanted this session to be everything which was important when it came to the basic concepts of the Forex market. And I wanted this to be a full guide of anything you might need to understand that, right? From the history of Forex and the history of money to anything that is related to those basic concepts of the Forex market. How to do proper risk management, how to know which direction market is going to go to, how to use TradingView now, how to read this price, and much more. How to do fundamental analysis, which holidays to take into account, and many more topics and many more information will be shared in the next ongoing days of this bootcamp. For today, I think this is a very beautiful conclusion to everything we have talked about so far. And I think this is a very, very powerful and very, very, very strong way to close it off. Maybe one last topic I want to add to all of this before we completely move it away here is something very, very basic still. Let's say with this last example we covered, we do want to go for a trade. There are 3 really important levels to take into account within the market. That is our entry point, all right? And our entry point is the point we get inside of the market. Let's say we would want to go for a buy here, right? That is the point right here. Our take profit is the point we think market is going to go to, where we want to take our profit. In this case, for a buy, that would be right here. And then our stop loss is a level that we can predetermine to prevent ourselves from having too much loss. I'm going to mention these levels much more in the next ongoing days, but I just wanted to throw this out here already because they're obviously very basic terms which you're gonna hear a lot. So to say that, to finish this off, we understand now how we can make money. We understand lot size, we understand pips, we understand candles, we understand everything that we taught today. The 3 levels which we use very practically to be executing a trade, and which I'm going to be showing you tomorrow on how to do on the MetaTrader 4 as well, is our entry point level, right? Which is the point we get inside of the market price level where we decide to get in the market. Our take profit, which is the level, the price level we think price is going to go towards, and where we want to take our profit, where we want our trade to be closed off in profit. And then our stop loss, which is going to be a price level that we use to prevent ourselves from taking too much loss. It's to stop the loss, and it is one of the most important things when it comes to doing proper risk management. All right, but again, more about that in the next days. For now, this is it. I know this was very, very intense. I know this was a lot. This was literally a 3-hour session. Let me know in the chat box if you had some value. I'm pouring my heart and my soul into this bootcamp today and in the next ongoing days. I want it to be a complete guide of anything you might need, where we're not skipping out on anything that is important, so you can have a full understanding of your Forex market and you can become the trader that you want to be and reach the goals that you want to set for yourself. All right, so with that being said, if there are no more questions, I will see you guys tomorrow on day 2 of this Back to the Basics Forex Bootcamp. Will be a shorter session. This was probably the longest of the whole week because this is the most amount of information that needed to be shared, because basics or basic concepts are a very big part of this bootcamp, obviously. And tomorrow in day 2 we will be having a full tutorial on how TradingView works, all the futures to use, every button that is important to know, and I will be showing you MetaTrader 4, how to use MetaTrader 4, how to set it up, how to manage your trades on MetaTrader 4, how to use multiple TPs, and all of these practical tips and tricks, how to see your spread, and all of these things we're going to be talking about tomorrow, and we're going to pick up where we left off today. All right, so appreciate the love. I see someone said best guide that I've seen since now. Could only be better. Amazing, powerful education. Spread this to everyone that needs to hear it. All right, this is why I do what I do. I want to help as many people as possible. So spread this session. If you have someone that just started out, put them on this bootcamp. This is everything they will need to immediately get a head start. And to be fairly honest, if you watch today's session only and you understand everything that I explained, you're already better than the majority of traders that I have seen out there, because a lot of this, majority of people do simply not know. And as you know, and as you remember throughout this whole bootcamp, education is the foundation. Stay blessed, stay healthy, and see you tomorrow on day 2 of the Back to Basics Bootcamp. A la próxima. Bye bye.